Greetings, family. I'm getting a little bit of a late start. I am you know what? Let's do something different today. Let's see here. Yeah. Thank you, Java Watson. I love you. You're so wonderful. Really, I appreciate you so much. Yeah, so let me set this up really quick. I'm gonna try to do something a little different since IG been tripping lately. I'm gonna try to broadcast live from Facebook for a change. I know I look crazy. You know what? One more thing. I don't know what's been going on, but my lips have been really chapped. Let me grab something for that really quick. All right. Okay. So how y'all doing? My name is Cassandra-Floyd. Oof, don't you even start. My name is Cassandra-Floyd, also known as the. Hold on. Let me resolve one more thing. All right. Cassandra-Floyd, also known as the DaughterOfTheFates, founded the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. And yeah, so anyway. So after last night, this is probably not going to be, I'm going to attempt to make it so that this is not an extremely long live. I did a long live last night, about 3 hours, because there was a lot I wanted to discuss, but I'm going to try. There were some things that I missed in the discussion that we had last night. Greetings, Aaron, Java Watson, Tajali, Shyboy Shade, Sage Page. There were some things in trying to fit everything in. Greetings. You changed your name, Sam La Arana. Sam Alarana. So there were some things in the, what did I say, 18 pages of notes. There were some things that after I finished the live last night, I realized I missed that were important. Also, several of you emailed me today or last night about getting the information to do a full moon ritual on Monday for the Cancer full moon in Capricorn. So I'm going to address that, and I am going to try to finish the little document I've been typing out to Yes, Java Watson. Yes. So I've been typing out some key points that you guys should keep in mind as you are creating your full moon ceremony / ritual for Monday. So I'll be emailing that out to you guys. I'll try to get it out tonight. If not, I'll get it out to you tomorrow. That way you still have plenty of time to prepare for Monday. So that's coming up. Today is the 11th. And so we spent a really long and good bit of time discussing what is significant about today, January 11th, which is the transitioning of the lunar nodes, the North Node in Pisces and the South Node in Virgo. And so if you want to catch that to see what of that is going to be impactful for you, plus I put links in the description for last night's video so you can check out the astrologers that I referred to or referenced when doing the live last night. This transitioning of the lunar nodes that we are experiencing beginning today will impact our lives significantly for the next 18 months. So if you don't know anything about the lunar nodes or the information is new to you, what I would suggest is there are no shortage of astrologers talking about the lunar nodes, and there are several astrologers that are giving like overviews of the significance of the lunar nodes, and then they break it down by the signs. And so take a little time tomorrow, if you have some, to just kind of find, go into YouTube search engine and just put in lunar nodal shifts or lunar node shifts. And there are no shortage of astrologers that are breaking it down, how you need to at least chart your course for your personal life, for your signs over the next 18 months when the nodes shift again. So I spent some time doing that. I'm trying not to be too heady about that, because one of the things that I mentioned last night is there were 2 series of dates that she was saying it's really important to go back to, so you get an idea. She was talking about how, I think it was 2015, I don't remember the exact date, 2015 to 2017, where the lunar node, no, it was 2006 to 2007, we were experiencing the exact opposite in the lunar nodal shifts, which was the South Node in Pisces and North Node in Virgo. And so that year from 2006 to 2007, you should go back and try to, see what your life was like, what was happening in your life, to get an idea of, quote, the reversal of what could be happening over the next 18 months. And then also she talked about the last time that the North Node was in true Pisces. Thank you so much, Sage Page, for your donation. I appreciate you so much. She said that wicked discussion is going to be lit. Girl, listen, y'all be killing me, okay? Tajali has been kicking my whole ass for some time about that wicked review. So I was like, I cannot procrastinate on it any longer. Just forewarning you, I'm telling you, just even reviewing my notes tonight for the wicked discussion, I was like, oh, it's gonna have to be a multiple part, maybe 1, 2, 3 part. Greetings, Taj. Hey, it's gonna be a 1, 2, maybe 3 part series breakdown, because y'all know me, I'm heady as hell. So I'm not just I'll talk about wicked, period, for the first one. But then what I plan on doing is it's so good to see you. I was thinking about you yesterday, Taj. I drove by your house yesterday. I was like, I wonder how he doing. We should link soon. But anyway, so I'm thinking tomorrow is going to be just a strict discussion on the movie itself, Wicked the movie itself. And then the following 2 parts are going to incorporate more um, The Wizard of Oz, some things that I think are really important for us to know about the author of the Wizard of Oz. Like I've gone into a straight freaking wormhole on this shit. It was one that I intended to do anyway, so the timing of the movie was pretty appropriate. So that's what I think I'm going to do. Tomorrow is going to be the start of the breakdown. It'll be part 1, and then over I don't know how much time we'll do a part 2 and a part 3. So that's happening. I know y'all hype about that. Let's see. I must check because those are my signs. I'm a North Node Virgo, although I was still a child in 2007. Doesn't matter. I keep telling y'all. As a matter of fact, I told you yesterday. I appreciate that, Aaron, because everybody is saying I was a kid in 2007. It doesn't matter. Remember when I told you yesterday that part of the importance of the South Node in general is to what? Is to go back to your childhood. That aspect of your childhood that you can recall, like before people started imposing their fears, their reservations, that part of your childhood where you still you still imagined the best, right? Where you were still just a kid. And if somebody asked you something like, what do you want to be when you grow up? It was something awesome and amazing. And oh my God, you know what I'm saying? Or you were playing in the mud and it was like, yes, the mud. Everything was exciting, right? Before, quote, the real world, your parents' fears, reservations, indoctrination started to really shape and mold you. That's what the South Node is about. So, for me, I know it's not the same for everybody, but for me, I have an extraordinarily detailed recollection of my childhood. Like a lot of people say that my memory is unusual. I don't know that my memory, my ability to recall my childhood is unusual as much as whatever our experiences are really determine our ability to recall our childhood. And even though like many others, probably every other, there are obviously huge moments of trauma that I can recall in my childhood. My childhood, when I think about my childhood, was not defined by trauma. Even though I am crystal clear, like completely aware of those traumatic moments in my life, I just don't see my childhood as one that was like shaped or defined by trauma. Yes, there was a lot of trauma there, but I still have really great memories of my childhood. I still have really fond memories of my childhood. And so I am encouraging you because I feel like it's a sensitive subject. And it's a sensitive subject because, again, and I'm always trying to be mindful and very careful about some of the things that I say, because I recognize that the period is different. And being out here in California, I tell y'all all the time, everybody is so well versed in their self-diagnosis. Everybody is so well versed in articulating their trauma, so much so that it almost becomes this thing that they allow to shape who they are now. That is concerning to me. It is concerning to me that because we understand now, we have a frame of reference, now we have a language to use, that the understanding and the language that we have been able to use to understand what happened to us when we were younger almost becomes this thing that we allow in our present to shape us, to define us. It's a very fine line, right? And I'm saying this because, again, I remember clearly, vividly, my earliest clear childhood memory. I may have been 18 months old. I was just walking. So when I tell you I have an extremely profound ability to recall my childhood, every aspect of it, and that's for a reason. I'm certain that it's purposeful. Like this thing that I am, this trajectory that I am walking on, this, this road that I am walking on, when something stands out about my life, I am clear about what its purpose is. I'm clear that there is something that needed to happen in my life so that I have the ability, again, to communicate complicated ideas to many different types of people. To communicate complicated ideas to many different types of people so that everyone can, at least when they're in my cipher, can get what they need from me and it empower them. I was trying to do this through Facebook, but for whatever reason, I was trying to do this through Facebook, but for whatever reason, the connection is painfully slow. But anyway, and I feel, and that's how I teach too. I try to teach in a way that not only are people fed when they are in my space for any period of time, right? But that they have the ability to articulate these things that they may not have had the language to understand previously. I hope that makes sense. I try to take complicated ideas and break them down in a way that everybody can get what they need, at least when they're in a circle with me. This is how I teach. This is how I was taught. This is how I learn. And this is also how I teach, right? So I'm saying that because yesterday when we were talking about the importance of, or the significance of this shift happening today, January 11th, this transition into the North Node in Pisces and the South Node in Virgo, and what that means. And one of the big takeaways, at least from this astrologer that I referenced for yesterday's live, her page is Astrology with Heather, is that the South Node is it's pure intuition. It's pure instinct. It's not interested in logic. It's not interested in reason. It's just interested in what makes you feel good in the body, in the now, right? That's the energy of your childhood. Your first 8 years of life, all you're interested in is what makes me happy right this minute. For the first few years of your life, 0 to maybe 3 or 4, that's all your mama, that's all your daddy is interested in, is baby is crying, how can I make the baby happy? Baby is fidgety, how can I make the baby happy? Baby, that's it. That's it. This is the energy. And that's why the importance of recollection, of the recollection of what was happening, for those of you who have said that you were a child in 2007, which, by the way, is fucking me up, okay? But that you were a child in 2007. I was in my second year of medical school in 2007, okay? So anyway, think about, let me just pull the notes up really quick so I don't have to guess. So she was, so yesterday, though, the years that were important to recall because of energy that is coming through now in the transition over the next 18 months. So this transition that occurred today, January 11th, of the lunar nodes, the North and South node, will last 18 months. This gives us an opportunity to prepare, not only to prepare, but to be watchful of things to avoid patterns that we may have a tendency to repeat because we don't look back at our past in an in-depth way. So many people are recalling their past, but all they're doing is recalling and re-speaking their trauma. That's it. It's like their whole life was just defined by trauma, as if, and I'm saying on average, I would hope that on average, I feel like we all go through trauma in childhood, but I would hope on average, between the traumatic moments, there is something of your childhood that you can recall that can empower you. That's what this energy is about. That's what the South Node in Virgo is calling on, at least one of those things, right? Let's see. So the dates that were important, and I had that backwards. So the dates that you should be mindful of in terms, I would say do it tomorrow before the full moon. Okay, so the full moon is Monday. So take just an hour. Don't get too deep about it. I have a bad habit of doing that. Don't get too deep about it. Take an hour tomorrow just to think about, or if you have journals that you can go back to or whatever, take a moment to think about what was happening in your life on June 23rd of 2006 to December 18th of 2007. That is the last time that the true North Node was in Pisces. So from June 2006 to December 2007, try to recall anything significant, good or bad, anything significant in that 18-month period, the last time that true node North was in Pisces. The next set of dates that you should be mindful of, and this is the one that she was saying was the opposite of the one that we transitioned into today, which means that the North Node was in Virgo and the South Node was in Pisces. That date is November 12th of 2015 to May 9th of 2017. So it's about 18 months. 11/12/2015 and 2/5/9/2017. I was subdued just in the few minutes that I took to recall what was happening to me in that period of time, which was monumental. It was many and monumental, pivotal, transformative moments, good and bad, in that period of time. This is important because she's saying, since it was the reverse of what we're experiencing now, maybe there can be some resolution to this period, some breakthroughs that seem kind of the reverse of what you experienced in this period. So I would say this is a way that you can like mentally and spiritually check in to prepare for this full moon on Monday. That's my suggestion. Okay. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Shifting gears, but not necessarily. So obviously there's something else I wanted to say. Hold on. And I meant to write it down earlier, but I just don't want to forget it. Let's see. Yes, where is that? Yes. Okay. All right. Okay, so obviously the thing that everybody is talking about, at least most immediately, is what's happening here in Los Angeles. And I don't want to go off about it, but there are some things. I was actually just watching a video before I came on this live about some new developments. So I don't want to go off on this. So don't let me go off on this. Okay. Somebody yank my chain if I feel like I'm about to go off on this thing. But over the last 24 to 48 hours, there have been a lot of discussions about the Where did I? Yes, about the the um the inherent bigotry and racism that is rearing its head in response to the fires in LA. Okay, that has presented itself in a number of ways. Also, this narrative that like it was almost instantaneous. This default narrative into like this, and it was fueled by Trump because of some comments that he made a few days ago about the fire and about Newsom and about Mayor Karen Bass, so on and so forth. About the chief of police, who is I think she's a lesbian. I'll just say she's queer. I think she's a lesbian. And so all of these things, the black mayor, the Democratic Gavin Newsom, the queer chief of police become the issue instead of the issue. These become these scapegoats for the gravity of the catastrophe happening here in LA. Okay. Let me just tell you something. Some people have mentioned it, and some people have been very extreme in their. I've watched a couple of what do you call it, like live news broadcasts where their media is questioning, like Karen Bass, for example. Karen Bass is the first black female mayor in the history of Los Angeles, and only the second black mayor in the history of Los Angeles. And she's 71 years old. And I am watching some, I think it was an Australian journalist, interview her in this live thing, this press conference, and is like going off on her, and she's not responding, right? She looks like completely not responding, and he's just going in, and she looks like she's on the brink of tears, right? And I was so annoyed by this press conference. I was so annoyed by her behavior, but I knew exactly what it was for. I knew exactly who it was for. I knew exactly who it was. Her response, her like literally looking like she was on the brink of tears and refusing to respond to this man's questions, who was being extremely belligerent in the way he was proposing, he was asking these questions. And I told y'all yesterday, or maybe it was the day before yesterday when I did that live, I want you try to not allow these people to harvest your emotions, to play you emotionally into taking an incorrect position about what you're seeing. Like I told you from day one, they have already started plucking at the heartstrings of the many. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, in Pacific Palisades, hugging people and crying and all of this shit. They have from day one started right away this emotional harvesting campaign, and you cannot be reeled into that shit. Sitting here watching this interview with Karen Bass had me so outraged, because for me it was obvious what was happening. I told you, and I've done it in several videos over the last year, about being able to recognize what we call as an individual, psychological, red flag to look out for in our personal relationships. But we cannot even take these complicated ideas that we're so well versed in and superimpose them on our local government and our state government and our national government to see how these same red flags, these same instruments, these same strategies are used all the way up to the White House. And what that interview reminded me of right away was what I was talking to you about a few days ago: strategic and weaponized incompetence. Strategic and weaponized incompetence. They need scapegoats. This government, both state and local, need scapegoats to justify. Here we are, just a few days. What is the 11th? So we're 8 days away from the inauguration. And constant scapegoats. Here we are, supposedly in the most, quote, woke, in the most, quote, progressive, in the most, quote, democratic state. And it is a sleight of hands, y'all. It's a sleight of hands, y'all. This is one of the, I grew up in Alabama. I lived a great number of years in Mississippi. I lived in Florida, and I lived in Georgia. And I have never had a problem saying, as much as I love this state, as much as I love the city that I live in, I have never lived in a more reactionary state than the one I live in. Okay? It is one of the most racist states I've ever lived in. Yes, California. This city, Los Angeles, is the absolute, without question, most segregated state I have ever lived in. Listen, don't get your panties in a bunch, Java Watson. I just told you I love this state. There's a lot to love. But people be really gassing up California politically as if it is something different, because people ignore the history of California. People ignore people look at the South as the only place that has ever demonstrated outright racism. It's like they just forget history. You feel me? It's just like they just forget history. And so they treat California as if it's something that has just always been this shining light of progressive policy or whatever. This state is racist. This state is racist. This state is racist the way it's always been racist. Every state in the union is racist. Like, why is that a stretch? Why is that something that's difficult to believe? So this shit that we're watching, let me calm down because I don't want to get hyped. The shit that we're watching is weaponized incompetence. It is strategic and weaponized incompetence. When you can have a video of the governor coming to Pacific Palisades yesterday to try to assess the damage, and some wealthy white woman approaches him and starts dogging him out. He says, look, ma'am, I understand his security is just around him. He's like, I understand. That's what I'm here to do, is I'm trying to assess, but I can't talk to you right now. I'm actually on the phone with the president. She was like, let me hear the conversation, because I want to know what you're going to do. I want to know what you're going to do. This, I am telling you, first of all, how some random person is just able to run right up on the governor in a heightened state of crisis. I'm telling you, every time you turn around, just be mindful. Just keep your eyes completely open, because what you're being told is not what actually is. That interview with Karen Bass, that press conference with Karen Bass, and this dude is Australian, going off on this woman, and she looked like she on the brink of tears. Like, she is not the figurehead of Los Angeles, California, quite possibly, maybe next to New York City, the most influential city in the entire country. And she's sitting up there looking like this dude just hurt her feelings. Didn't defend herself, didn't say anything. This is strategic and weaponized incompetence. This is playing into a narrative that has been sharpening and deepening since November 5th. When the shooting happened in New Orleans just last week, the same thing. The issues weren't the issues. all of a sudden tapping in to this rabid, latent, just below the surface white nationalism that has been constructed by the state. It has been constructed by the state by using the things that y'all talk about in your personal relationships: breadcrumbing, love bombing, strategic and weaponized incompetence, right? And so here, the thing that becomes the issue just a week ago in New Orleans, or January 1st in New Orleans, was the fact that the police chief was a Black woman, and that I think it was some other person, I forget who it was, maybe it was the fire department, I don't remember, but she was a white woman, and that became the issue. These are DEI hires. That became the issue. Here we are today, is the fact that the police chief, the chief of the fire department is a white female, a white lesbian. That's the issue. The issue is that Karen Bass is the first Black female mayor of Los Angeles. That becomes the issue. It's the fact that Governor Newsom is a Democrat. That becomes the issue. Not that each one, except I don't know anything about the fire department chief, but what I do know is Governor Newsom is responsible, and all these white people reelected him because they was challenging his just a few years ago. They was challenging his right to be in the governor's seat. There's a whole thing where they were challenging the election and saying, I forget how the thing went down, but they were challenging his right to be the governor. And so they had the whole re-election process or some shit, and he stayed in the governor's seat. And the first thing that he did was create the opportunity for these billionaire real estate investors, because the first thing that he did, the first ordinance that he put into place was that now these big corporations could build could build multi-family units, big high-end apartment complexes in residential areas, like homes, right? Increasing the gentrification that's happening in this state. To be a Democrat is not to be progressive, period. First of all, I want to say that. To be a Democrat is not to be progressive. So I really wish I would get that out y'all head. To be a Democrat is not to be progressive. Period. To be a Democrat is not to be progressive. Period. In California, what was his name? Rick Caruso, who was one of the 12 people running for the mayor's mansion during the election. Rick Caruso, this is what it means to be a Democrat, because your president did it too. Trump had been a registered Democrat for forever until it came time for him to run for the presidency of the United States. And then he switched parties to become Republican. Don't nobody even talk about that. He had perpetually voted Democrat, had been a registered Democrat. All of a sudden, it comes time for him to run for the presidency, and he changes parties just like that. That was strategic. Rick Caruso did the same thing. Rick Caruso is a billionaire, a multi-billionaire in this city, who had been, and he got a pass that people weren't even trying to force him to reconcile. Sexual allegations in his position in one of these colleges out here. He had a whole wicked ass pass. None of these white people was challenging him. You understand? Billionaire. But he knew, because California, quote, is a Democratic state, that no matter what he said out of his mouth, he didn't stand a chance becoming the mayor of Los Angeles, quote, the most progressive city in America. He didn't stand a chance winning the mayor's mansion as a Republican. I think they said 2 months before he threw his hat into the ring, threw his bid in the hat to become mayor of Los Angeles. He switched parties. He had always been a Republican. And as soon as he switched parties and threw his name in the hat to become mayor, Then he started getting all of these endorsements. Gwyneth Paltrow and all of these so-called progressives that y'all love. Some Snoop Dogg, as a matter of fact, endorsed Rick Caruso, notorious predator, notorious billionaire real estate mogul. So why y'all still got y'all panties in a bunch about this Republican versus Democrat BS is beyond me. It's beyond me. It's beyond me. To be, quote, labeled a democratic state it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. It's not just, quote, that there might be racist people in the state. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the policies in the state are racist, are malignantly racist. The gentrification and how it targets people is inherently, wickedly racist. The numbers in terms of homelessness, in terms of the incarcerated, you just name it, it's inherently, wickedly, diabolically racist. You understand? So why people be acting shocked when I say the state is one of the most racist states I ever lived in. It is. Don't act brand new. Don't be simple. I'm saying this because for another reason. What is not happening at all is a discussion about, for example, I knew why Karen Bass was the sweetheart darling that everybody was throwing their weight around to become the first Black female mayor of the city of Los Angeles, because she would be pliable. She would be, greetings, Margaret, dear, how you doing? She would be one that those things that they needed done, they could do without resistance. The first order of business when everybody in the city went out and ran to vote for this Black woman and was feeling all warm and fuzzy inside about the first Black female mayor of the city of Los Angeles. You understand? People, Stevie Wonder sang at her little inaugural thing. Like, everybody was just innate emotions out here. It was crazy. The first thing that she did, despite the fact that for a decade, everybody was talking about the overbloated police budget in the city. There are barely 10,000 employees in the police department. I'm talking about from the janitor all the way up. There are barely 10,000 employees in the LA City Police Department. And the LA City Police Department's budget, and that had been the chief concern of most people, not just poor and working class people. Most people in this city were like, damn, why is the police budget so heavy when crime is down and has been down consistently for years? The first thing this woman did was increase the already overbloated police budget in this city. That was her first order of business once she became mayor, was to increase the police budget. So while you see, y'all be mindful, while you see all these rich white people yelling and complaining, quote, about the incompetence of Karen Bass and how she would decrease the fire department budget, because she did decrease the fire department budget by like $17 million. Decrease the fire department budget by 17 million. What they will not say is how they all supported her increase of the freaking police budget. Let me tell you what that means. The police budget that is now $3.6 billion annually in this city. $3.6 billion for 10,000 employees in the LAPD. You feel me? The city, what is his? The city adjuster, I think is his position, Kenneth Mejia, is constantly going through the city budget and trying to figure out like why the city's bleeding out and why shit ain't getting done. So that's what his job is. He did a big ass billboard, giant ass billboard right in Hollywood, where it was so dope, where he talked about the failure of the city's budget. He said for every $4 this city generates or comes into the city, for every $4, and then he did a whole breakdown. So he's got the $4 up here, and then he did a breakdown of who was getting what departments, what areas was getting what. He said that for every $4 that comes into the city of Los Angeles, for every $4 that comes into the city of Los Angeles, 3 of those $4 are going to the police department. The last dollar is divided among all the other departments: traffic, housing, city transportation, you name it. What is it? Gas, water, all that shit. The LAPD, with a $3.6 billion budget annually, gets 3 out of every $4 generated or coming into the city of Los Angeles. Ain't nobody talking about that. And the white people that are talking about this thing, oh, we mad because this quote incompetent woman, decreased the fire department budget. Ain't nobody saying in the same breath, why does this city need a $3.6 billion budget for less than 10,000 employees? And I'm not exaggerating. In the last week, because the fire started Monday. Since Monday, I am not exaggerating. And I have been driving around. I have still been working. In that period, I have seen 5. I live literally 3 blocks from the police department. 3 blocks. Right out here to Wilcox, right down 3 blocks away from a police department, the Hollywood Police Department. I live right down the street. In the days since Monday, even when they was doing a Hollywood evac, I have seen 5 fucking cop cars. Before this fire started, I was like, damn, we live in Fallujah or some shit. All of a sudden, every time you turn around, cop helicopters all over the place, talking about how just, quote, routine circling around in helicopters, not looking for anybody, not trying to catch nobody, just, quote, routine flying cop helicopters around. $50 million a year. $50 million a year, and they ain't even using the shit. It's just surveillance, because they ain't even using the shit to catch no goddamn body. $50 million a year just to fly helicopters around the goddamn city. Purposelessly. So while all these white people, I want y'all to keep y'all ears open for these catchphrases. While these white people out here screaming and carrying on about the incompetence, and I'm telling you, I'm not siding with Karen Bass. She was a necessary tool, a puppet that was in preparation for what we're experiencing right now. That they needed some Negro, a Negro that they could put forward as incompetent to justify what's coming next. These little slick catchphrases that they're using, they needed the Negress in positions of power. Why? Because I'm always telling you, in these Christian movies, these Christian end of the world movies about the last days, what did I tell y'all? Every time you see a movie about the end of the world, about the last days and shit, movies about the end of the world, about some apocalyptic event, 2012, or some asteroid coming to the earth, or some end of the, what do they call it? Ellie, they call it what does it stand for? Extinction level event, right? Extinction level events and all of that shit. What is the common theme of all of these end of the world scenario movies? Because y'all know it's my soapbox. What is the common denominator? Some black ass person in a position of leadership. Damn near 90% of the movies you've seen about extinction level events has had some Negro sitting in the Oval Office. But now it's just a, quote, extinction level event in LA. Somebody talked about all these apocalyptic movies that take place in LA, like The Rock was in one, and all of it was synonymous. Some Negro in a position of power, the first black female mayor in the history of this city, and only the second other black mayor, and he had been previously the chief of police. Let's see what y'all talking about. I heard on TikTok from Black LA people that ICE has been doing checks in South Central and West Side where there ain't no fires. Isn't that something? Because I haven't even heard that. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? So they mad because the predominantly Black communities haven't been impacted, at least LA Black communities. So I'll say again what I said last night. This area is not getting anywhere near the airtime. Altadena, which is actually, I wanted to mention something about this too. Altadena is where Octavia Butler was born and raised. And it is still heavily, even though people have set its sights on it for gentrification for a long time. So it's heavily Black. It is a very mixed community now because of gentrification, but it is still very heavily Black. Altadena. That's where Octavia Butler was born and raised. And I'm gonna mention her in a minute. Let's see, what's your name? Constance Woo Woo. Constance Woo Woo. I had not heard that. I had not heard that yet, but it makes sense that there would be an attitude about the fact that South Central's, Crenshaw District, none of the heavily populated Black areas in the city have been impacted by the fires. Not one. The only Black community that has been heavily impacted by the fires are those in the foothills over there in Altadena. That's why, is because it's like right in the foothills of the mountains. So that's something to be abreast of. Let's see, it sounds like what they need in places like Mitchell's Plain, one of the most dangerous places in South Africa. I've never been there, but to have that in California, is the crime that bad? Exactly. The crime has been the statistics have been perpetually decreasing over the years, but they've been perpetually increasing the police budget. Now, there's a lot to be said about that, because I told you the police budget is directly tied to the fact that when I moved to the city, LAPD and LA Sheriff's Department had been, and I don't know if it's still ongoing, but both of them had been under federal investigation for fucking gang activity. Both. The legalized marijuana market in Los Angeles, 22% of all marijuana sales, y'all. 22% of all legal marijuana sales in the city, in the county of Los Angeles, in the city of Los Angeles, goes to LAPD. Y'all ain't heard what I said. 22% of all legal marijuana sales goes to the LAPD. I like that. I like that comment, K and DD. Extinction level events can also allude to the fact that when we take charge, it's a wrap. I like that assessment. Samara said that ICE is everywhere right now. That makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense, because there haven't been no police around here. There haven't been no police presence. I'm sitting here watching. I was at a client's house the other night. The client's house from me was 2.3 miles. 2.3 miles. It took me an hour and 20 minutes to get home from 2.3 miles. And there was not a cop in sight. They make the announcement that Sunset Boulevard, Hollywood Hills area is now an evac area. How they gonna make an announcement and not have ready the police presence necessary to make sure that people can get out of this area safely? This is almost a week later now. Y'all done had time, to prepare. And there wasn't I saw one cop in that 1.5 hours that it took me to get from a 2.3 mile house away from me. I saw one cop. There was no cops nowhere. Hollywood. This is Hollywood. There is a police department 3 blocks from my house, and I saw one cop from there to here. So what y'all getting paid for as crime is down? What y'all getting paid for that in a disaster, y'all are nowhere to be found? What y'all getting paid for? What y'all getting paid? What do you need $3.6 billion for? You feel me? I matched with the former LAPD chief on Bumble. He was so, whoa, that's crazy. That's crazy. Explain why it makes sense. Ice out in force during a disaster. It makes sense because, again, the opportunity to do what? To do what? To pounce on the already marginalized. They're driving regular cars parked in the cut doing surveillance. To me, it smells like they're finding their own gang, funding their own gang activity. Yes. Not just that. I saw a video right before I came up on here of this woman. What's her name? I wrote her name down because this is a white woman and her husband who, where did I write this girl's name? Who have taken it upon themselves. Oh, where did I write this girl's name? Damn. This white girl then taken it upon herself, her and her husband, to what she call it? Man, I just wrote this shit down. Where did I put this shit? Man. Me taking notes like a crazy person, y'all. Here it is. On IG, she is Whitney Cummings, WITNEY CUMMIGS. She calls herself an arsonist hunter. She's talking about doing everything but killing. These are her words, not my words, but killing arsonists. She's saying, since the police ain't gonna do their job, me and my husband have been driving around for the last few days. And then she's got this outfit on that looks like a doomsday prepper outfit. You feel me? And she says, me and my husband have taken it upon ourselves to do the police job. And so we've been riding around looking for arsonists. This is my what does she call it? My arsonist hunting outfit, right? My arsonist hunting outfit. This is my arsonist hunting outfit. You understand? Yeah. So y'all be mindful. There's a reason I'm telling y'all all of this. So let me go back because this is going to tie it all together, and then I'm gonna move on. Remember last year? Was it last year? It might have been the year before last. It might have been 2 years ago now. Yeah, it feels like it wasn't this past summer. It was 2 summers ago. You remember when was it? It was 2 summers ago when I read to you, because it was 2023. And I was like, damn, we got to read Parable of the Sower, because I didn't realize the book begins in January of 2024. Remember that? And so I started reading the Parable of the Sower to you by Octavia Butler, again, from Altadena. And so the book begins in January of the year 2024 in a dystopian Los Angeles and greater Los Angeles area, right? And how nobody be up in LA anymore because it's so dangerous to be in LA. So people be creating their own little community enclaves and creating giant walls out of just stuff, cars and all kind of stuff, to try to protect themselves in these little enclave communities, right? And so of course, since these fires started, everybody's been talking about Octavia Butler and, oh my God, she was a prophet and this, that, and the other. The same way that they did when COVID happened. When COVID happened, for the first time, Octavia Butler's book, The Parable of the Sower, that was written in 1993, made the New York Times bestseller list. Couldn't make bestseller lists while she was alive. But then COVID came and everybody was like, oh my gosh, she must have had a crystal ball, whatever. Here we are. And everybody's talking about Octavia Butler. I've seen so many TikToks and stuff. People talking about she must have been a witch. She must have had a crystal ball, whatever. And the interesting thing is y'all remember that the book started in the year 2024, but she's talking about all the stuff that's happening in their neighborhood, whatever. But she kept saying, I need to prepare. Remember, she stole her dad's book and she was learning herbs and she was learning all this stuff because she's like, it don't make sense to me how everybody's so comfortable. Like eventually the people are going to be so desperate outside that we ain't going to be able to be here. And what are we going to do? Are we prepared to get up out of here if we need to? And you remember, it was 2025 when their community was bum rushed and set ablaze. People was robbing them, stealing, and then set everything on fire. And she was saying you could see the fires from everywhere. It wasn't just our community, that when they took off on foot in every direction, you could just see the fires everywhere, just springing up, fires everywhere. That was in 2025 in her book that she wrote in 1993. Understand? So I thought I would mention that, right? That's all I want to say about that. Told y'all not to let me go on. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to say that much, but just be mindful when I'm telling you about being able to recognize strategic and weaponized incompetence. When you see somebody like Gavin Newsom, who was they guy, right? Being talked about all crazy by the president. Yes, she did. I do want to say one more thing about the Octavia Butler book. The other thing that was really that stood out a lot for me in that book was the divide between wealth and poverty. It wasn't like this was some dystopian world where now everybody was poor. It wasn't like some kind of quote great equalizer, like people. It wasn't some great equalizer. The chasm between wealth and poverty was the most extreme that it could possibly be, to the point that even when the families were talking about maybe having to go, there was a city or a township that was quote near the water, and they were heavily armed, and people were like, look, we can't find work, so we're going to go down to this town where you can work to live, that you work for these quote wealthy people on the beach for room and board only, and then you only get paid in currency that they create. You can't spend the currency nowhere else, only in their township, you feel me, to buy the other things you need, like food and this and that and such. And that and even as people are trying to make their way north to Northern California, right, or to Washington or to Oregon, that's what they can look forward to, is just finding a job that will allow them to exist. That's it, just to exist, right? This, and so the fact that this, not only that, the other thing that had happened in that process was that there was no public services anymore. There wasn't no so-called public services anymore. People kept saying, if anything happens, you can't call the police, because if you call the police, you have to pay the police for the police to come. You have to pay the fire department for the fire department to come. And if, and they ain't gonna solve no crimes, they're just gonna come, and then they'll probably end up stealing what you have, stealing what they can take, right? And so nobody, no matter what the crime was, would call the police, because you get billed. You have to pay for the police to come. You have to pay for the fire department to come. And the only job that you could look forward to having is a job where they put you and your whole family in a single room, in a single actual room, and then they pay you in currency that they create, so that every dime you make, you can only spend with them. So it never allows you the opportunity to stack and save to get up out that situation. Or how they were stealing children. This was in the book. How they were stealing children to make the children slaves, right? So And the thing that was so interesting reading that book to me is, Eden Canyon is on fire, right? And the way she talked about, like, when they would go out to the canyon to for target practice, right? And the way she described it, I was like, oh my God, this is like, she gave new names to everything. But I was like, oh my, this is Eden Canyon. I hike. I haven't been out there in a long time, but when I first moved out here, I was hiking Eden Canyon easily 3 days a week. I was living in the foothills in San Gabriel. I was hiking Eden Canyon 3 days a week. That's it. I love it. It's extraordinary, right? And the way she was talking about it, I was like, she's talking about Eden Canyon. Knowing that she was born and raised in Altadena, I was like, this whole thing, everything she's describing so vividly is this area where she grew up, right? And this area that is predominantly working class and lower middle class, black, brown, and white people. Black, brown, yellow, and white people. That's it. You feel me? So it's going to be interesting to see how. And the other thing I'll say is this, is like, I just want y'all to be mindful of what LA is, what Hollywood is, who lives here, who runs this shit, and the fact that for the last year, we have been watching an entire country be decimated in the, it's like deliberately seeking out the most gruesome and violent ways to destroy, terrorize a human population. We've been watching that shit on repeat, like a never-ending snuff film for the last year. And we have been doing that because of this place, this headquarters right here. This headquarters right here. This disseminator of ideas globally right here. This place that had 700, minimally 700 Hollywood actors and celebrities sign a document saying whatever you have to do, we support Israel. Whatever you have to do to them, we support that. 700 of these same people crying right now on the TV, weeping and wailing about the devastation of Los Angeles. I don't want to sound like I do not have empathy, but I know exactly where to place my empathy. I know exactly where to place my empathy. I do not know how you expect, as a person that identifies as a human being, to outwardly and enthusiastically co-sign on the massacre of humans and it not in some way impact your life, come back to you. These declarations that you have made, these documents that you have signed, co-signing on the literal purposeful intention to destroy, to literally obliterate from existence a whole population of human beings, and it was not in some way going to impact your life. I don't understand, y'all. I do not understand. You can look at images, and I know y'all are all moved and everything. I get it. I'm just telling you, be selective about how you disseminate your empathy. Be selective about how you distribute your prayers. Because this thing that is happening here is happening on the back end of a year-long gruesome, lunatical, insane demonstration of a lack of empathy, demonstration of an unquenchable, insatiable bloodlust. That's what's been happening. And that shit has its origin, its base of operation right here in the city that I live in. I'm trying to tell you. Do not let these people set a narrative that don't do it. Don't let them set the narrative. Don't let them set the narrative. Stop doing that, man. Be selective about where you disseminate your empathy. Be selective about where you disseminate your prayers. Be selective about who and where you give money to and donations to for this. Because y'all keep praying prayers about how God come and help us, and God come and, even the score, and God come and, make people pay who do terrible things to other human beings. But when this thing happens, y'all forget the prayers you prayed to end your suffering. You forget the prayers you prayed. What do you think it's going to take to end your suffering? Do you really believe that you can pray for a beautiful and wonderful life? Do you really believe that a beautiful and wonderful life is possible? Do you think that you can experience a beautiful life, a wonderful world, coexisting with those who are hell bent on global destruction and despair for their benefit at everybody else's expense? Do you really believe that is possible? So if you're praying for a beautiful world, if you're praying for a bountiful world, if you're praying for, an experience where human beings can live and thrive and experience the best that the planet has to offer in this harmonious relationship with the mother, you have to be okay when the mother makes a judgment. You have to be. You have to be okay. She said, okay, babies, I hear y'all. I hear y'all loud and clear. Let me come on through here. You have to be okay when she makes a judgment. You have to be okay when she sends out those that are going to execute her judgment, those that are going to execute her will, because she is honoring and responding to your prayers. I want a beautiful life. I want everybody on earth to experience a beautiful life. I want to end global suffering. I want to end global despair. I want to end slavery. I want to end child trafficking. I want to end all of these things that make it impossible for all of us to experience the beauty of this relationship that we're supposed to have with the Mother Earth. That's what you're praying. But then when you see the mother's judgment, you walk back your prayer. I didn't mean like this. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. Why not? Your worst enemy has done worse to you, worse to yours, worse to the many. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. I pray for everybody. I pray for my enemies. I'm just trying to tell you, you can't have it both ways. You cannot have it both ways. You cannot pray for those whose lives of opulence come at your expense. Those whose opulence requires suffering. Those whose inquenchable, insatiable lust directly, not indirectly, directly impacts your life and everyone around you. There would be no classes. I'm trying to give y'all a word. There would be no such thing as class divisions, because there would be no classes if there was not this entity that exists on this planet whose lust, whose bloodlust, whose money lust, whose mineral lust is inquenchable. Too much is never enough. And so they, recognizing the methods that they can exploit to continue to fuel in and funnel in the blood and the earth and the minerals and the wealth. Class divisions are created by those in power. There would be no working class. There would be no poor class. There would be no middle class. There would be no wealthy class if these megalomaniacs did not exist, could no longer exploit. So you can't have it both ways. I'm trying to tell you. I don't know. I know that this is not very characteristic of how I talk to you. But it is not in contradiction to what I say that I pray for. It is not in opposition. It is not in contradiction to what I say is the clear vision that I have of the world, that we have the ability to create, man, that we have the ability to execute this world. I believe it. I don't even believe it. I know it with every cell in my being. I am certain of it with every single fiber that exists in me, that we can create this world, that we can generate in real time this world. But I am also certain and clear that it cannot come without the moving out of the way of the debris of the past that has had everybody on earth in a goddamn stranglehold for the last 6,000 years in general, and the last 2,500 years in particular. It cannot coexist. The world that we want to make real cannot coexist with the institutions of the past. It can't. It's impossible. It's impossible. It can't. And so don't walk back your prayers. Don't betray the prayers of your ancestors. Don't betray the prayers of your enslaved ancestors, your colonized ancestors, your oppressed ancestors, your genocidally murdered and eradicated ancestors. Don't betray them. Talking about you wouldn't wish this on your worst enemy. Don't betray them. Talking about I pray for my enemies. Don't betray them. Talking about we all in this together. Don't betray them. Talking about what else? We all one people. We all one community. We all bleed red. Don't betray them. Don't betray them. Don't betray them. Don't betray them. When you see the evidence of your prayers being answered, the prayers of your ancestors being answered, don't betray them. Don't walk back their prayers. Don't betray them. If you can't say anything, just don't say anything. If you can't say anything, I'm just telling you to say thank you. I'll be honest. I'm just telling you to say thank you. If that's all you can say, I'm just telling you to say thank you. When you see the evidence of the mother moving through in real time, just say thank you. If you can't say nothing else, just say thank you. If you feel uncomfortable saying that, don't say nothing at all. But do not open your mouth to walk back the prayers of your ancestors. Do not open your mouth to walk back those prayers that you've prayed. I want what I want, but I want everything to just remain the same. Y'all, none of y'all. I'm going to tell you. I listen to so many spiritual people, so many spiritualists and shit. Y'all don't believe what y'all say. It's impossible for you to believe what you say. It is. It's impossible to believe what you say. What you think is going to happen is that there is just going to be some grand epiphany that sweeps through like a bright light and opens the heart of everyone on earth, and everybody in real time will just end their wicked ways, and we can all live together in peace and harmony. That's what you think is going to happen. That's what you actually think is going to happen. So y'all just pray and sing songs and do a ceremony, because y'all think that's what's going to happen. Is that it's just going to be a light wave, a sonic wave of epiphany that just cracks the outer shell of these hardened hearts. That's what y'all think gonna happen. That's what y'all think gonna happen. And I'm trying to tell you. Every single, solitary day. The mother is trying to show us she's just trying to show us every day. Every day. The babies, I know y'all don't want to do this. I know this isn't what you learned in your churches and from your parents. I know it is uncomfortable. I know that you are afraid. I know that you're afraid because it's speaking to you from deep within, the inevitability of what must be done. The inevitability of what must be done. And it's terrifying to you because it's so unfamiliar. It's terrifying to you because you have been strangled by a narrative that tells you that it is wrong for you to defend yourself. You have been strangled by a narrative that tells you it is wrong for you to defend your family, that self-defense is not a right you have as Black, as woman, as other. You do not have that right. And so I am in your dreams. I am shaking the shit out of you. And I know it's uncomfortable. I know it's uncomfortable because everything around you is telling you what you must do. Everything around you is telling you what must be done, what has to happen to free yourselves. There is no other way. There is no pass go. There is no other way. There is no other way. And so I demonstrate to you my glory in an instant, and it's terrifying to you. So you walk back the prayers that you've said to me since you were a child, witnessing a world of injustice. Mama, why the world look like that? Mama, why they treat Black people like that? Mama, what happened to all the Native people? Mama, you've been praying these prayers since you were a child. And here I come to answer your prayers, and you would walk them back because you are uncomfortable with what must happen. This is how proficient the propaganda has been. This is how effective the brainwashing, the spell casting has been. And I'm trying to show you every day, since day one, since the first day of this year. It's been one revelation after another. Since the first day of this year, one revelation after another. One revelation after every single day. One revelation after another. You see what happens when Giselle Pellico finally receives, quote, the sentencing for her husband and the 52 captured aggressors against her body as an elderly woman. And her husband got 20 years. And the other 52, their sentences ranged from 3 to 15 years. This is a revelation I'm trying to show you. This is the mother. This is a revelation I'm trying to show you about what must be done. That you will never receive justice in institutions that did not mean for justice to be executed upon men. I'm trying to show you what must be done. Just a few days later, 70,000 men. I thought it was just Germany. It was the German police that unveiled it. But the chat room was 70,000 English-speaking men from all over the globe, audaciously showing live videos of them committing the most gruesome, how do you even imagine such a thing? The most gruesome crimes against the females in their families. There were live videos streaming in the chat room. Men disseminating pictures, how-to guides on how you too can drug the women and females and children in your life and get away with it. This is the mother. It's hard to see. It's hard to watch. This is the mother saying, I am removing every veil. I am pulling back every curtain. I am showing you every day what must be done. There is no justice that you will receive in the world the way that it is. I'm showing you what must be done. So remove the blinders, remove the rose-colored glasses. I am showing you what must be done. This is the mother. And then she gives us such an undeniable sign, you guys. She gives us such an undeniable sign. I sent many of you a video that was sent to me today of a straight up, it was filmed by one of the weather cams here in LA, of an actual full on, all the way up into the sky till you cannot see it, a full on fire tornado climbing across the mountain range right here in Hollywood Hills. An undeniable omen of her arrival. And you would walk back your prayers. Thank you, Aaron Pfeiffer. Thank you, Aaron Pfeiffer. She says, it's not enough. She says, and then she's talking about the time that these men got for this aggression against Francois. She said, it's not enough. And then when a woman retaliates against their abuser, they're locked away for life. This is the mother telling you, you know what must be done. 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 You know what the risks are. Like Aaron just mentioned here. We didn't heard these stories for years, though, of young girls being trafficked, having the opportunity and seizing that opportunity to slay the one who put her in trafficking at 15 years old, to be sentenced to life in prison. We've heard these stories over and over and over again. Over and over and over again. And now the mother, now the time has aligned. Now the mother has arrived in all her glory, gives us an undeniable sign right in the epicenter of global propaganda of her arrival. She gives us a sign that's undeniable of her arrival. And so this period requires extraordinary courage. You understand? This period requires, remember what I was saying yesterday about the astrology and about how the astrology of Pisces in the North Node is calling on us to imagine and execute in the material world something that has never been done before, never been seen before. And that has to be partnered with a radical sense of courage. Remember me telling you that yesterday? Yes, for your individual lives. But women have a world to create. The oppressed have a world to generate. Children have to be freed up to participate in the world that they will grow up in. I told y'all the story about what happened to me and mine. I remember the day that I had to, while still honoring her childhood and protecting her childhood, the day that I also had to recognize that I had to arm my child at 7 years old, being the victim of sexual assault at 7 at the hands of a 16-year-old. That was the day that I said, okay, my baby can't be no victim out here. I can still give her a childhood. I can still keep her safe enough that she experiences the joys of childhood, but I cannot treat her like she lives in a world where she is guaranteed safety, and put her in martial arts, self-defense classes, And we became members of the gun range right there in Florida. So I want to challenge you women to read, to study, to teach your children everything you learn, you teach it to your babies. Teach it to your children. The man that was the sensei for my daughter, teaching my daughter self-defense and mixed martial arts, an Iranian man. His self-defense classes that he taught for children began at the age of 5. So they're not too young to learn. He was able to teach self-defense to 5-year-olds. Teaching them, because you can't overcome an aggressor at 5 years old. So what can you do that gives you the seconds that you need to run away, to get away, to pry a predator's hands off you? This is what he was teaching babies. School supplies that you have that can be instantly turned into weapons, knowing how to use those instantly turned pencils and shit into weapons, knowing exactly where to disable an aggressor that's 3 times your size. What did I tell you? That the pillars that hold up this rotten, filthy monstrosity, the pillars of sadomasochistic asceticism, of martyrdom and absolution, there is no crime that males commit that they are bound to pay a just price for. Knowing that, understanding that, seeing that every single day you turn on these laptops and these phones, how do you adjust your behavior accordingly? And how do you teach your children that they can enjoy this life and still be able to defend themselves? To protect and defend that which they incarnated into. The universe that is their own possession. I really want to encourage you to be hyper aware of what is going to be happening, especially around this narrative about what's happening in LA over the next few days, months, and years, possibly. Who is saying it? Who are they? What has their history been? The 59 people that y'all have been confronted with, the 59 celebrities whose homes have been, who have caught fire in this fire. Before you make a judgment about especially empathy and carrying on prayers and empathy, just do a quick Google search. Google their name and what their history and their position has been over the last year, over the last 5 years, over the last 10 years. Reserve your empathy and your prayers until you know who people are and what their position has been. Have they been the enthusiastic supporters of genocide, not just in Palestine? There are 5 genocides happening on the planet right now. What has their position been? What's the source of their wealth? What corporations do they support? You need to know who people are, because you cannot have it both ways. You cannot have a world where oligarchs and plutarchs exist and expect that you're going to pray some bounty and some beautifulness and some peace in your life while these weirdos still exist, while they still are able to move through the planet, robbing, looting, stealing, murdering, raping, pillaging in broad daylight, and you think it's something other than what just happened 400 years ago with the native people, with the people of South America, with the indigenous people of New Zealand and Australia, with what happened in India during the first and second British invasion. You think that what's happening now is somehow different than what was just happening a couple hundred years ago. And so you pray for the oligarchs, you pray for the plutarchs, you pray for the opulently wealthy, you pray for what would have been in that period the nobility, the aristocrats. And you would have been crystal clear back then. Oh, they the enemy, the aristocrats. Oh, they the enemy, the nobility. Oh, they the enemy, the church, who hog and hoard all the wealth. Everything we produce you can't benefit from, they hog and hoard it. Here we are, modern day serfs. Modern day serfs, beholden to landlords, the lords of old, that would allow you to work on their land just to provide enough food for you and your family to eat, and just enough for you to build your little makeshift house on, so if they change their mind and don't want you on their shit no more, they could toss your ass off. Here we are, modern day serfs, beholden to oligarch corporations that have seized ownership of all the goddamn houses and buildings in this country to make us permanent serfs, permanent nomads, constantly looking for a place we can post up just a year, just 2 years, just 4 years, until they jack the rent up so high. Isn't that what the relationship between the serfs and the landlord was? Everything you produce belongs to me because I give you the opportunity to live on my land and grow just enough food for you to eat. Oh, but by the way, I get to have sex with your wife before you do on your wedding night. You feel me? Here we are, modern day serfs, beholden to a class of modern landlords, no different than the wicked ass nobility of the past age. Those who know will stare into the eye of the storm and say, yes, mother, come on in the room, Aaron Pfeiffer from South Africa. I taught myself to use a staff. I love a weapon I can make my own. Yes, come on in the room. I wish y'all would have been on that temple study we did on Wednesday night, because there's some things that we can't talk about up on here. You feel me? But those things we talked about in that temple study, those things we talked about on that temple study. You feel me? So if you want access to the Zoom link for the temple study, send me an email at EvoEmeTemp@gmail.com. EvoEmeTemp@gmail.com. If you want the link to the temple study that we did on Wednesday night, because these were some of the discussions that we had that are pressing, they are urgent right now. You feel me? Let's see. Also teaching children to listen to their intuition. Yes. Pray for Congo. Pray for Mozambique. Yes. I said to my daughter, I think the coach is a good guy. My daughter is 5 years old, and she turned to me and said, maybe coach is a good guy. I high-fived her and said, that's right. And if I go to a war, you got to fight for me. Listen, speaking of something that Sage Page just said, a couple of days ago, I did a live because these two men I was telling you about had been doing a little presentation about these 70,000 men that was up on this thing, and how it doesn't matter who the man is, because of the way the world is, they can only come to so much of a good conclusion, right? And one of the dudes was like, y'all mad, y'all men always mad because women are saying that they'll choose the bear over men, and y'all's immediate response is not all men. And and he's saying y'all need to stop saying that shit. That it's enough of y'all out here doing this stuff. 70,000 men in this chat room. There's enough of us out here that women have a right to be afraid of every single one. These men ain't talking about random women that they done lurked behind on the street, strangers. They talking about the women and children in their families that they have been doing these things to, these 70,000 men, right? And he said that, right? And when he said that, I was like, okay, yeah, because he said, stop saying not all men. Both of them was like, stop saying not all men, right? And I have a new saying. We're gonna start hashtagging this shit. And cite Black women. Don't jack my shit. If you say it, cite it. You feel me? because ain't heard nobody else say this. This is the origin today, January 11th, 2025. This is the origin. So when people start doing think pieces about it and all this shit, everybody be prepared to say, yeah, the person this came from is Cassandra, aka Daughter of the Fates. Hashtag. Everybody started using the hashtag when you start seeing this shit. 70,000 men in the chat room with some men did. I just read about a gay male couple yesterday who was arrested. They had gone through the entire process, the legitimate legal process of adopting two babies, two male children, little kids. I think they were like 5 and 7. And the only reason these men were caught, y'all, is because one of the men that they sold child corn to turned them in, ratted them out. That they had adopted these babies and had taken thousands and thousands and thousands of videos and images of these babies, sold them to innumerable numbers of men through the internet, sold these babies. All these pictures of them as the doting couple with their two little kids in their rainbow colored shirts. People in the LGBTQIA community should be outraged and should be out with the pitchforks and the goddamn and what you call them things? The torches and the pitchforks. People in the LGBTQIA community should be outraged about this. It's not going to have me walk back my position on the right for every human being to experience sovereignty, to expect sovereignty in their walk through this life. But when people like this do things like this that give, especially the right wing, the appropriate amount of fire to attempt to deny other people's sovereignty, y'all should be out with pitchforks. Y'all should be the loudest in your opposition to this shit. There is I forget where I saw the quote, but there's a quote I want to tell y'all. The best way to bring folks together, listen to this. The best way to bring folks together is to give them a real good enemy. To give them a real good enemy. What does it mean to bring folks together in this statement? I was like, damn, that's a hell of a statement. Absolutely vile, trash bag of human beings, those two gay men made water become your enemy. Yes. You understand? Oh, and the thing that Sage Page said about giving her baby a high five. Oh, and the hashtag. I don't want to forget that because I'm going to go back to this enemy thing. The hashtag. This day, you heard it first. Because, y'all see the hashtag around the bear thing, right? I choose the bear. I think that was the hashtag. And then there was another one that men were responding with it. It was like, not all men, hashtag not all men. There's a new hashtag. Oh, is that okay? Thank you. That's what it was. Yes, it's under my whiz notes. Thank you. The new hashtag by yours truly, if it doesn't already exist, maybe I should Google it first. The hashtag is assume all men. Assume all men. That's it. Assume all men. That's the new hashtag. Assume all men. And then the burden of proof becomes theirs. The burden of proof becomes theirs. I don't want to hear out your mouth, not all men. The burden of proof that I am safe with you is yours. The burden of proof is yours. So I don't quote hate men. That's not the thing. The thing is that we live in the world the way that it is, where 70,000 men can be comfortable, can be completely comfortable, streaming live as they abuse those that they claim to love. That a man married to his wife for 50 years can be so comfortable unmoved in any way emotionally as he not only videos, invites and videos random strangers to come to his home and literally destroy the body of the woman who took care of him, cooked his meals, washed his clothes, cleaned his home, bore his children, secured his life, his existence for 50 years, and he could watch without flinching. For 10 years, he did this. For 10 years. Assume all men. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. It's about the fact that we live in a world right now that the mother is showing us all the time. Y'all have been living in an illusion. Y'all have been living in a world of make-believe. Y'all have been living in a world of make-believe. That we are witnessing the apex of the most gruesome things that patriarchy has to offer. The most gruesome things imaginable that patriarchy has to offer. I'm showing you in broad daylight. I'm exposing it all so that you can free yourself from the illusion. This is what it's for. It's not to traumatize you. It's not to hurt you. It's not to trigger you. It is to completely remove the veil. It is to completely remove the delusion imposed on you so that you can once and for all free yourselves. You can once and for all free your kinsmen. You can once and for all free your sisterhood, free your children. It is to remove the veil of illusion once and for all. Assume all men, and then it becomes their duty. It becomes their responsibility. It becomes the only thing important to them is to demonstrate that they are not one of the all. To demonstrate in action that not only are you safe with me, but that I will violently defend your life if need be. That's the only thing that's acceptable. Not only quote your little friends who, I'm a feminist too, girl. I'm a feminist too, girl. Nope. 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 The only thing that will do is for your demonstrations in action that I am safe with you. Now, I don't believe nothing you say out your mouth. Your acts of demonstration that I am safe with you. That if the shit hits the fan, you will not betray me. You understand? That if someone threatens my life, even if you're the lone one in the group, you will be the one that will violently defend my life. Enthusiastically and violently defend my life. That's the only thing that will do. Assume all men. Make sure you put that in every post you make. That's the new hashtag. We got to blow that up. Assume all men. Clip this part of the stream. Assume all men. This is the new hashtag. Assume all men. An article talking about 70,000 people, English speaking men around the world in a chat room talking about and teaching each other how to abuse the quote loved ones in their life. Assume all men. Zelle, Pelaqua, aggressors, 30 of whom were never caught and identified, get 3 to 15 years in prison, and her husband, who was the orchestrator of the whole thing, get 20 years in prison. Assume all men. That's the hashtag. Every time you repost something, these two men who did this terrible thing to these two babies went through the strategic process, the long and tedious process of legally adopting children with the sole singular purpose of seeing them as objects to buy, sell, and trade on the market for human consumption. Assume all men. 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 Anyway, what time is it? Okay. So I want to start seeing my hashtag, y'all. I want to start seeing my hashtag. It's a parable of the sowers. Okay, cool. All right. Another January from the astrology from last night. Another January date that I neglected to mention that I wanted to make mention tonight. The hashtag is assume all men. Assume all men. Assume all men. So another big date coming up this month is January 29th. January 29th is the Chinese New Year. January 29th, we transition from the year of the dragon to the year of the serpent. Yes, 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 yes. Thank you, Java Watson. So yes, yeah, we talked about that Wednesday in the temple study. I am discovering too often people who are using straight up quotes from my mouth and not citing me. I want y'all to be the people that go up in their shit and put links to my YouTube channel. Put hashtag DaughterOfTheFates. Put the hashtag and then say something like hashtag DaughterOfTheFates space said it first. DaughterOfTheFates said it first. The shit is stupid. It's stupid. And from people that should know better. This ain't white people doing that. This colored people, this women, this black men laying up on my shit, stealing literal words right out, snatching words right out of my mouth, and then presenting it on their shit like it's just some random epiphany they just had. You understand? You can say Daughter of the Fates. You can say Cassandra-Floyd. Hashtag Daughter of the Fates said it first. Hashtag Cassandra-Floyd said it first. And then put my YouTube channel right up in there. Thank you, Vayoni. And this shit is dumb. And because I refuse to self-censor on YouTube, I'll probably never have, 75, 150, 250,000 followers because my shit won't go up on the algorithm that way, right? And so people could just lay up on my shit and steal. I just see it too much, y'all. And I know it's not my imagination. Because I actively, even when I come up with an idea that I think might be my own, but I was like, you know what? Let me check. I do that all the time. Let me check. Has anybody said this? This name exists anywhere. I always do that. Because if it's something, remember I was telling y'all there was an event I wanted to do. What did I want to call it? It was last year. I was like, damn, this is brilliant. You know what I'm saying? It was some event I wanted to do, or maybe it was me talking about something I wanted to do for November 19th, like a year out from it. That's what it was. And I wanted to call it, I forget what I wanted to call it. I was like, yeah, this is brilliant. And I had already started writing up like the plan of action for it, like the proposal for it. And I was like, you know what? I'm all hype about this. You know what? Let me Google this first. The name that I wanted to use that I can't remember right now. And it was already there. A whole little festival with the name that I wanted to use. I was like, oh, well, shit, I can't call it that anyway. You know what I'm saying? So people ain't stupid. You know how to search if something that you said is actually an original idea, or if you maybe heard it somewhere or whatever. And so I'm sitting here doing that all the time, trying to be respectful of people's intellectual property because it's so easy to steal people's intellectual property in the internet world. You know what I'm saying? And because I only got almost 3,000 followers, people are like, don't nobody know who she is anyway. We can just steal her shit and say it was just an epiphany I had. Guess what I was thinking about last night? I hadn't seen it too many times. Let's see. Who technically were the first enemies of Black women? Come on. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me. It's like stealing a recipe you can't cook. I love that. Don't stop them from stealing. But I love that. Don't stop them from stealing. Don't stop them from trying. But what it does do is it steals from me. It steals an opportunity from me. You feel what I'm saying? When it's something as simple as saying, yo, I came across this sister's YouTube channel, and she was putting down something that was brilliant. It was like so simple, but so brilliant. And I was like, yes, that was dope. And I want to make sure y'all go follow her. Something as simple as that. They can't do that. And it's gross. It's gross. And it's happened often over the last year in particular. You understand what I'm saying? So y'all got to be my foot soldiers on that. When you see somebody and you're like, y'all know goodness damn well where they got that from. You feel me? Especially if it's random. Especially if you go back and look and there's no other thing that they've done that ties to that. There's no other scenario. There's no history of this being something that they were talking about. Like when I called Umar Johnson out for stealing from me. And I was like, well, you know what? Because somebody sent it to me and it was like, yo, this nigga stealing from you. I was like, well, let me see. You feel me? And then I go, because I was like, it is what it is. And maybe, you feel me, other people are talking about it. Or maybe before I reserve judgment, giving a nigga the benefit of the doubt. I was like, maybe there's something he's been on for a little while and I just didn't know because I don't follow him. You feel me? So maybe it just wasn't on my radar. So I go back to almost a year of his videos. This is me reserving judgment. This is me giving the motherfucker the benefit of the doubt. Because the homeboy sent me the link. He was like, do you see this shit? This nigga has literally stolen verbatim out your mouth everything that you said. I was like, well, let me reserve judgment. Let me get a nigga the benefit of the doubt. You feel me? Let me go back. And I'm telling you, I went back over a year of his videos, combing through. Is this something that he's been talking about for any period of time? Is there any other video that he has talked about this thing that now he's just acting like is an epiphany that just occurred to him yesterday? Yes, it was the Pluto returned videos. Yes. And so when I did that, my homeboy was like, look, grind this nigga up. Grind this nigga up. You know what I'm saying? He's like, I've been in the comments, because he caught it live. He's like, I've been in the comments dropping bombs, firing shots, boom, 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 boom. He's like, but you need to do a video about this. You need to grind this nigga up. And before I did that, what did I do? I reserved judgment. I didn't get hype. I went through. I was like, that's alive. I know this dude is a clown, but let me just go back and make sure I'm not tripping, because he is a priest in the tradition. Maybe he was up on game, giving a nigga the benefit of going through 2 videos in a whole 3 years where he talks about those things. 2. The one that the brother sent me and a one after it. He'll probably never see the video that I made about it. But that's why, man. Don't everybody that just be saying good shit every now and again, they don't get their props. If I find out you ain't got no integrity, like, it didn't even take that. I didn't fuck with Umar Johnson for a reason. You understand? Misogynist that he is, right? When someone co-opts your brilliance, it's a straight violation. Thank you. It's a straight violation. Thank you, Tajali. It's a straight violation. You feel me? And so anyway, yes, when you see something and you know in your spirit, like right off jump, I know where they got that from. They with that bullshit. go right up in their comments and be like, Cassandra said it first. Whatever. You feel me? Anyway. What else I wanted to tell y'all? So tomorrow, I'm gonna get up in this wicked so y'all can back up off me for a minute. Oh, I wanted to tell you, I didn't look for, yes, Sage Page from day one, child. Everybody was singing his praises, and from day one, as a matter of fact, the first time we went to go see a presentation of his, I took my 3 kids, my daughter and my 2 stepchildren. We went to go see him because my ex-husband was like, no, you got to see him. I was like, no, you know, it don't seem like somebody that would have anything, you know, radical to say. He's like, no, you got to go see him. So we drove to Orlando to go see him. My stepson was 9 years old at the time. 9. And he loved all things Black Power, RBG, because his dad, that was his dad, you know, RBG, Black Power, whatever. So Quazil, our 9-year-old son, he's like, because he and his sister called me Mommy Yapo. Mommy Yapo. Mommy Yapo. We got to stay here for this? Because we were there for about an hour into his speech or whatever. And Quazil, who is always enthusiastic about Black Power shit, always. He's like, Mommy Yapo, can we leave? We got to stay here for this? Can we leave? My 9-year-old. So even my 9-year-old was like, this ain't it. This ain't it. This ain't it. My girls, I think Delana was 12 at the time and Morgan was 14. And they went to every event with us. Every event we organized, we didn't force the kids to participate. Every event they did, they'd be like, we gonna help. You understand? Imagine all of those things men have stolen from women's wisdom. Yes, same old shit. Yes, children know who's real and fake. Absolutely. Yes, that's all we've been talking about, even in this read that we just finished, Beyond God the Father. It's one of the main things she talks about. Is how much genius has been stolen from women by the men closest to them. How much cred. Now, I was talking to y'all about that the other day when I was talking about that article that I read called, what was it? 10 men that we think are good guys that are actually evil or something like that, or 10 geniuses we think are good guys that are actually evil or some shit like that. And most of their evil was the theft of intellectual property of the women in their lives, and how the women in their lives died in obscurity while they, you know, live on in history as fucking intellectual rock stars or some shit. Einstein was one of them. You feel me? So don't do that. If y'all see it, call it out. The shit is old. The shit is old and it's gross and it's unacceptable. And it don't matter, even if it's females, because I've seen females do the shit too. Black women. It's fucking gross, man. It's fucking gross. And this is the thing that has to be said. I cite everybody. Don't do that shit, man. It's fucking, and don't be claiming to have no principle and no integrity, or I'm a priest, or I'm a priest because it was a priestess of Yemaya who I saw stealing my fucking shit. I'm a priestess of Yemaya. I'm a priestess of Ocean, or whatever. And you ain't got no integrity that you would steal from a Black woman when all it takes is go check out the sister site. That's it. I ain't even ask you for no money. This idea is brilliant. Go check the sister page out. So that's why I don't have no patience. I don't have no patience for that shit. I don't have no patience for people who do grimy fucking shit like that. It's grimy. It's not like a small thing. It's grimy. It's grimy and it's typical. Everybody grows so comfortable off stealing from Black women. Everybody don't even think twice about it. Everybody, because in their mind, we're still slaves and beasts of burden, and everything that we produce, everybody is entitled to. So call that shit whenever you see it. The other thing was, as I was telling you guys, that I saw this interview with this black woman who is from England that was interviewed by the brother. I said I was going to find the video link, but I forgot. But I did find her name. Her name is Shadira Egeru. I'm going to spell it. It is Chidera. That's her first name, Shadira. Chidera. Her last name is Egggerue. Egggerue. She has her own podcast, her own YouTube channel. But in this video I saw, she was being interviewed by a brother. I don't remember his name or his channel, but I'm going to make a mental note to find it so I can place it in the description of this. As a matter of fact, let me write that down so I don't forget. YouTube link to video to interview. Yeah, it was a really good interview. Let's see. Some men need education on the divine thugs of Mama Kali. What's that? The divine thugs. I ain't never heard of that. I like the sound of it, but I ain't never heard of that. Okay. Exactly. So Vioni said, oh, he gets into astrology now. No, he's a thief. His vibe has always been off. Imagine all, yep, blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool. Is there anything else I wanted to say? Probably. So let's see. Yes, Lisa, I was reading that in the encyclopedia. Oh, I was reading that in the encyclopedia and wanted to bring it up in the temple reading I missed. The divine thugs. Y'all shall have fun exploring them. Okay. So I had a thought. I was watching another interview, and I'm gonna just say this out loud, and I can just use it to go back, maybe just for myself. But I had this thought, okay, when I told you I was watching this interview on the same day that I watched the one with this sister Shadira, and it was with the trans woman that was being interviewed by the white guy I was telling y'all about. That trans woman's name is Natalie Wynn. Her YouTube channel is called ContraPoints. 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 She's very funny. She's got kind of a funny but still kind of weird, dry sense of humor, but funny nonetheless. And she does all kinds of stuff. But the interview that this guy did was about her breakdown of the like historical sexual dynamics between males and females, in particular, using the Twilight trilogy. She used the Twilight trilogy to do this deep dive into the complications of male and female sexuality using Twilight trilogy. There's a cult of assassins called the Thuggies. Oh, listen, is it in the Encyclopedia of Myths and Secrets? I told y'all I ain't read the whole book, and I've been reading a lot of stuff lately that I haven't read in it. So I've been finding a lot of good stuff. That might be the book that we read next. I'll be honest, because there's so much good stuff in there. I'm like, I just, go through and find something that's relevant to the moment. I'm writing this down so I can get up into it tonight as soon as I get up off here. Oh, snap. This might need to be a t-shirt. This might need to be a t-shirt, Divine Thugs. Okay. Anyway, so what I was saying is in this interview with Natalie Wynn, um, I forget what the context of it was. I forget what the context of it was, but I had an epiphany. I had a mental note, right? And in response to something she said, I'm going to go back and figure out what it is. In response to something that she said, I made the mental note. I said, we crave apocalyptic destruction because we inherently seek a sudden resolution to what we see as the source of our despair. And praying for the end, let's see, and praying for the end, praying for the end absolves us from doing the work to end our suffering. Y'all hear what I just said? That's why these churches be telling you, quote, the good news is that Jesus coming back. Well, what is Jesus coming back synonymous with where the church is concerned? The end of the world, right? It's synonymous with the 7-year tribulation and the coming of the Antichrist and the number of the beast in your forehead. You can't buy, sell, or trade with all this terrible, the opening of the 7 seals and the sounds of the trumpet and the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. This is what they say the good news is. They say, yeah, the good news is Jesus coming back for the church. So you won't have to live because you'll get caught up in the rapture. You feel me? You won't have to live through all this shit that is coming. And Jesus coming back for the church is synonymous with what? The quote, end. The end days. The Armageddon and shit. Get down. Boy, you're going to keep trying. Get down. It's the end. You feel me? And so I told y'all, I think it was like it was in one video that I did, but it's like 2000, I have to remember, but it's like 2,733 apocalyptic movies that have been made since 1914. Since 1914, there have been 2,733 movies made about the end of the world, the inevitable apocalyptic future, in all the different ways that the apocalypse may look. You feel me? 2,733 movies telling you to fear the future. Remember that piece that I did? And when this woman was talking, I don't remember what it was about, but there was something that she said, and this was my response to that. Oh, thank you for that. 966 or not 996. Okay, cool. This was my response. I said, I got to write that down. That's good. We crave. That's why we are obsessed with end of the world scenario movies. We crave. We feel good about almost apocalyptic destruction because we inherently seek a sudden resolution because we feel powerless. So we're always looking outside for some great something to happen to, quote, even the playing field or to end all the bad guys or whatever. We crave or we seek a sudden resolution to what we see as the source of our despair. And praying for the end absolves us from doing the work to end our suffering. Praying for the end absolves us from doing the work to end our suffering. You feel me? There was a couple of epiphanies I had during this woman's interview and I just saw another video about it today. This woman was talking about the piece that she was doing. I felt really annoyed by, and I think it's something we're eventually going to have to get into. But she was talking about this article. She was using this article as her frame of reference for the discussion that she was initiating, where this article was saying that it is the recruitment of women that allowed the U.S. military to meet its recruitment goals last year. That over the previous 4 years, it had been failing to meet its recruitment goals. And it was the increase of women, like, what do you call it? Enlisting in the military that helped there was an 18% increase in women enlisting last year that helped the U.S. military meet its recruitment goals. That was concerning to me. She was using it as and she was talking about like some of the responses or whatever. And she was saying that she read the article and she was saying the breakdown was that for a pretty long period of time, the U.S. military has been having a difficult time finding recruits that meet the minimum requirements for enlistment. And those requirements are educational requirements and body fat requirements. Those are the minimal requirements for approved enlistment in the military. And that over a period of time, I think it's like over the last 10 years, it's been more and more difficult to find males that can meet the bare minimum. They have to take a test called the ASVAB, the bare minimum educational requirements to enlist in the military. And so for several years, they have not met their annual recruitment goals because they said that people wanting to enlist is about the same, but that their ability to meet the minimum recruitment goals has been the issue, right? And so she was assessing basically that there are more women obviously completing college and stuff like that. College is not a requirement for enlistment, but being able to pass the ASVAB is. And she said for other different types of areas of the military, they do require at least a bachelor's degree, and fewer males are meeting that requirement, right? And the reason I'm bringing this article up is because there is this constant discussion, as particularly in the global north, Europe and North America, of this phenomenon where females are increasingly out earning males. And the reason why is because more and more women are completing higher level education, and more and men or males are failing to thrive in high school. And fewer males are enrolling in post-secondary education, right? And she talked about another article, and there were women that were commenting on the article because she talked about like the whole DEI type of thing. And there's this racist assumption that if a person of color or a woman is in some kind of position, that she is not qualified to be in that position, and put the evidence that all the evidence that males need that she is not qualified is that she is either female or she is a person of color, right? And she said the reason that males are angry everywhere on earth and trying to shame people under some DEI or whatever is because for the first time in their history, for the first time in males' history, they have to do the work. That in a world where women have no voice, where women have no access to power, where women are denied opportunities to education, they do all the work because they're invisible, and males get all the credit. So she's like, you think about the 1960s and the 1970s, where it's being revealed now, all of these situations where it was actually women doing these great and wonderful things, but could not get any credit for it. And so males would get the credit. Like she talked about the women, that the human mathematicians in NASA, that the Hidden Figures movie was made about, right? And we just learning about them, but NASA's ability to go out into space was because a bunch of faceless, nameless, voiceless Black women who were geniuses and could not get credit for their genius. You feel me? Where she's talking about, the guy in the office, who is the boss, and his secretary does all the work, right? And so he doesn't have to do any work. He doesn't have to learn anything because this secretary, who has no other options, is going to do the work for him, right? She said, thinking about college, even when I was back in college, she said it was not uncommon for men to just be in high school, for males to just be moved through. They didn't have to do the work, especially if they had some skill, like if they were on the football team or the basketball team. If they had some skill, they would just be moved through. College, same thing. It was not uncommon for dudes to pay their girlfriends or dudes to find some girl to pay to do their homework. You know what I'm saying? To, help them pass their little test or whatever. It was not uncommon. Males have just always been accustomed in the society that benefits them to just move through spaces with minimal requirement on their intellect, with minimal requirement on them growing and developing and evolving. And so now that they actually have to compete in the society, now that they actually are being required to learn, to grow and to evolve, they are uncomfortable. They are mad. They are violently mad. They are uncomfortable because what is being required of them is not anything unusual. What is being required of them is to evolve. What is being required of males is to evolve. Is to try. It is to make an effort. It is to take pride in yourself by the accomplishments that you actually do, that you're actually responsible for, right? And since that actually takes work and thought and strategy and preparation, they got an attitude. And so women in particular, right, and others become the target for their frustration instead of them saying, you know what, it is time for me to evolve. It is time for me to grow. It is time for me to learn something on my own. Right? Let me see what y'all talking about. In our strength, we realize they have been viewing their own end while trying to convince us that it's our own. Yes. We all know Cassandra has to get her genius thought processes out of every eureka moment. Cassandra, you only have to make a 50% out of 100 to pass the ASVAB. My recruiter called them rocks with lips. Rocks with lips. If men are failing the military entrance exam, we are in real trouble. That's what the article was saying. That's what the article was saying. Rocks with lips. They need to read about the African Queen warriors and not referring to the Amazons, but the Amanarinas for one. Well, I guess like when I started out by saying that the article was concerning, is because I want to understand why it is that women, I want to know who these women are, first of all. And if it's women of color in particular, because if it's white women, then I understand. They're trying to protect what they think is their legacy, is the state, right? Is the government, right? But if it's women of color, I want to understand, and I don't have no problem thinking that it's probably women of color. If it's women of color that are demonstrating an 18% increase in the last 4 years of voluntary recruits to the United States military, I find that seriously concerning. I want to know what the motivation is. You understand? Because I find that seriously concerning. I find that seriously concerning. And it's not to Lisa J, undermine the extraordinary revolutionary warrior history of Black women. But those were wars of justice and judgment. They were not reactionary wars of empire oppression and obliteration. So I am seriously concerned why, especially in this day and age, in this period in human history, and under this presidency that we're walking into, women in general and Black women in particular, or women of color in particular, would be demonstrating an 18% increase in their recruitment to the U.S. military. In a world that is so volatile, that the U.S. military is literally being stretched all over the globe to secure empire, to secure the theft of resources. That's the only reason they're there. Why would women be increasing their commitment to the U.S. military? So that was what was concerning to me about the article. And then we have to be creating an institution of dual and contending power. If women want to channel their inner warrior goddess, their inner Ya Asantuwa, their inner, Queen Nzinga, you feel me, their inner Kali Ma or whatever, then we need to be creating something else. That's not the answer, is enrolling and enlisting in the greatest imperial military. That's the only purpose, is to fulfill the imperial goals of plutarchs and oligarchs. That's the only reason. That's the only reason that they exist. So that's concerning to me. That was what was concerning to me about the article. But anyway, in response to that, I was thinking, that's what was the whole thing, was like, men are talking about, women are starting to out earn men or whatever. And women are out earning men, one, because for the first time, at least in, the northern world, we have complete access to education. That's one thing, right? And then the second thing is we're out earning men because we're going and doing the work and getting the education against all odds and all obstacles presented to us through the whole process. But at the same time that's happening, men are refusing to evolve. They're like, no, we want it to be the same. You're too educated. You don't need to go to college. My ex-husband used to say that bullshit. Why don't you just quit that school shit? If it's so stressful, why don't you just quit that school shit? Feel me? Because for you to evolve, the reason that they don't like, quote, successful women is because it shines the light on their inadequacies. It shines the light on the fact that they are not going to try. They're not going to try. They're not going to match energy. And then you become the problem, and you become the reason that that they went and slept with some 24-year-old somebody, is because you emasculated him because you were successful. No, boo. That's not what emasculated him. What emasculated him was his failure to evolve. What emasculated him was his failure to step up. What emasculated him was his inability to grow. That's what emasculated him. And then what makes him feel like a man is what? To somebody who has less, somebody who is not as experienced because she only 24, she ain't did nothing in the world, ain't got no experience in the world. That's what makes you feel like a man, is dominance, is the ability to exploit, suppress. You feel me? So yeah, later for that shit. Let's see. Much easier to buy a house through white civilian world will take you seriously. Pressures of financial living is extinguished. Yeah, I get that. I mean, I told you I come from a military family, but I see with the military, especially active duty combat, I see what it does to human beings, people of color who still have a soul, who still experience empathy. You know what I'm saying? I see what that shit does to them. I come from a military family. My mama's side of the family is a military family. Yeah, they hardcore Christians, but they're a military family. I see what that shit does to them. You understand what I'm saying? And I get what you're saying, and it's a setup. It's a setup. Let's see. Remember that the KKK got their training from the military, preparing. I recognize that. I'm saying there are other places that you can get training. There's other places. You ain't gonna make none of y'all. This is where we just gonna have to be like, we just gonna have to agree to disagree. There is no way that you are going to make me say that joining the U.S. military is the only way that you can get the training, that you can get the access to resources to secure yourself a home. I get it. I know the history of the military. I got damn near in my immediate family, 25 people, male and female, who have served in the military for decades. I understand. I understand what they use. I understand what the appeal is. I get it. But I also know them. And I also know what active combat duty has done to them. I know that. I also know what the military is for, how it has betrayed human beings. I know the fucking trauma that has been caused to family members who served in the military at the hands of the military, not at the hands of being in combat, at the hands of military. So that ain't no shit y'all gonna convince me to. Black people, brown people, red people, and yellow people have no business serving in the U.S. military. I don't give a fuck. There's never anything that you're going to convince me that we, quote, have to do. That ain't no shit. That ain't no shit I'm with. I get that they don't see that going in. I'm just telling you. That ain't that. I did a whole long ass. They're basically socialized to be that way. So I completely understand. Yeah, okay. The KKK got their training from the military. Not all. And at the end of the day, we know we got enough kinfolk in our family that have been in the military that still can't be excused. I can call my cousin so and so or my uncle so and so right now and be like, look, I need to learn how to use a firearm, and they'll be like, okay, but I can show you how to do that. You see what I'm saying? We got enough family members, we got enough people in our community who done did that shit. That we have to just be coming up with other ways, y'all. Because what does the military do? The only function of the military is to secure empire. This military is to secure empire. It is the only thing they do. It's the only reason that it exists the way that it does right now, is to secure empire, is to steal resources or facilitate the easy theft of resources from third world countries, is to protect corporate interests in third world countries and other countries. That's it. And that ain't no shit I'm flinching on. That ain't the shit I'm flinching on. There's always the consequences of the fates. My daddy wasn't in the military, but I learned how to fire, and I learned how to fire weapons, and I learned archery at the age of 8 years old. My dad was never in the military. He had a military father, and his oldest brother was in the military. My grandfather was in the Korean War, shot in the head in the Korean War. He lived. The shot in the head in the Korean War. And then my oldest uncle, my Uncle Faye, was in Vietnam. My dad learned martial arts. My dad, listen, my dad was a zealot too. So all this shit that's doomsday prepping now, that's all cute and popular, we was doing doomsday prepping before it was a thing. When I was a kid, my dad taught us how to hunt. My dad taught us how to fire an arm. All he had was girls. Anything he would have taught his boys, he taught his girls. He taught his girls. So I learned how to fire an arm, and I learned archery when I was 8 years old by my dad, who was never in the military. So, you know, we just got to be creating can't keep making excuses about why we support imperialism or how we support imperialism. That's what I'm trying to win with y'all, is we got to be making different decisions and different choices about what the world is going to be. Not trying to convince you, explaining why I as a Black woman, made the choice because times were hard, just like now. I get it. It is not a condemnation. Like I said, the recruiter tried to recruit me, tried to recruit my sister, especially my sister. You feel me? I get it. I understand why. And I understand the technique. They target Black people and brown people in particular, right out of high school, junior high school. They be calling your phone, bringing you lunch. It was deep when I was a kid, when I was in high school in 93, when I graduated in high school. They be calling your phone. You need anything? I get it. You feel me? All I'm saying is the now. I would never criminalize. I would never condemn a person who served time in the military. I come from a military family. I love my people now. All I'm saying is once we learn more, once we know more, It has to be something that informs us of how to be different, to move differently, to understand differently, without judgment, just to understand differently. Everybody's understanding is based on that goddamn conditioning. So it's not a judgment. It's a recognition of where we are and how we have to be different if we're serious about the world we're trying to create. One of the, let's see. Yes, Lisa J said we may not agree, but we understand what seems to be a lack of choices, especially for poor marginalized people. That's what the shit is set up to do. You feel me? It's an acknowledgement of what has to change. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying for me, especially given how it's concerning to me, considering how reactionary and how dangerous the world has been in the United States since COVID, to see clear, even in a Democratic, quote, presidency, how dangerous this country has become. That is what is concerning to me. I think that is what stood out to me. Not only 4 years of Biden and these active aggressions all over the world, and these deliberate targets on the rights of marginalized people, women and people of color and LGBTQIA people under a Democratic administration. All of this stuff has happened under a Democratic administration going into a Trump administration. I'm just struggling to understand why there would be an 18% increase in females joining the military. That was all my point was about the initial statement. One of the greatest witches I've ever met introduced me to Rampton and Stuber books. I'm saying, let me tell you something about you, Shop with Shades. Let me see if I'm tripping. I am tripping. Hold on. So let me write these down. Rampton and Stauber books. All right. Okay, let's see. I love my boat. That's what I'm talking about. That was like the most. That was what I love the most. I miss archery. Let's see. I always wondered why Black folks got involved. Thank you. I wouldn't encourage anyone to go into the military today. I didn't have a Cassandra-Floyd, a Cassandra-Floyd 30 years ago when I enlisted. Thank you for that clarification. I recognize that. I appreciate it. It's not a small issue. It's a huge issue because they are extremely. And I just saw this other video this dude made about what I was talking to y'all about yesterday, about how, Hollywood is, is employed by the Pentagon, right? And he was talking about just the last 25 years. Just the last 25 years. He talked in general about the history of increasing the production of movies that elicit patriotism to increase. And he showed the statistics, the direct correlation between movies coming out of Hollywood and the increase in enlistment in the military. They had that shit statistically laid out that if we put this many movies out into production that invigorates and centers around patriotism. He talked about what's that movie? Captain America, and how enlistment after a year, during that year after the release of the first Captain America movie, how enlistment into the military went up 44% in a year. So don't think it's some decision that you're making on your own about going to the military or whatever. Everything is like, it's just such a well-organized instrument, the instrument of propaganda. And so he's talking about over the last 20 years, how much of an increase there has been in movies that have been meant to elicit like patriotic sentiment, and how and he talks about specific movies and how each movie, there was statistics around the increase in enrollment and enlistment based on these different movies that have come out. I said, damn. I don't know this movie. Tyler Perry did this 688 movie. I haven't heard of that. I haven't heard of that. That's the name of the movie is 688. I hadn't heard nothing about it. Is that the name of the movie? 6 triple. I ain't heard nothing about it. 688 Tyler Perry. I'll look up a trailer after I get up off of here. Let's see. I agree. I come from a military family. My nieces and nephews are going in, and I'm just so sad that I couldn't be around to steer them away. Oh, you need to tear that apart for us. Do you know how long it's been since I've seen a Tyler Perry movie? I think the last Tyler Perry movie I saw was was it called Acrimony? Is that what it was called? Was that the name of the movie, Acrimony? That Taraji P. Henson was it? I think that was the name of it, Acrimony. I think that was the name of it. And that movie had me so in my feelings. I said, I cannot subject myself to this. Child Boy says the same. I withdrew from him a long time ago. After that Acrimony, and then the end, I said, I can't. I cannot subject myself to this madness no mo. It was the last movie I ever saw by that dude. So anyway, let's see. Yeah, I think that was it. So, oh no, it wasn't it. I didn't mean to go off on this stuff so long. There was actually something very specific I wanted to talk to you about. And we almost did 3 hours, and I don't want to rush through it. But I should say something about it since we're on the eve of this full moon. Damn. Okay. So we're approaching this full moon, right? And there were some things that I feel like were important, not directly related to the full moon itself, but you know me, I be thinking all deep. You feel me? Let me pull out my little thingy thing. Here we go. So I haven't done this in a very long time. I may do more of a thorough breakdown, but I did want to just give you some tidbits to help you over the next few weeks. Okay. So the full moon coming up is a Cancer full moon in Capricorn. Okay. So that's why I'm telling you we need to be doing water rituals, right? So we're going to go out to the beach. You feel me? If you're not near an ocean, try to find a body of fresh water. You feel me? If you're not near a body of fresh water, do your little full moon rituals where you put your little sacred objects out in the moon, whatever, right? But also the fact that the North Node is in Pisces, right? There were some other things. It was like, there is what do you want? There is I think I talked to y'all about some other placements, Neptune and Jupiter placement that we're in the full midst of. There was a whole bunch of stuff, but it was a lot of water energy. Stop, girl. There's a lot of water energy in this setup that we're in right now, approaching this this full moon. And it had me, I have to find it because I don't want to miss any notes. It had me thinking, all this water energy. Let us see. For several reasons. North Node. Okay, yes. North Node. Okay, so there's a Saturn, Neptune placement There is Jupiter is retro. Oh shit, I forgot about that. Jupiter is retrograde. Do you know where it's retrograde? Like, do you know what sign it's retrograde in? Do you know? Let's see what else. Retrograde until February. Let's see. Remember, I told you based on these lunar nodal shifts that happened today, using water to heal was going to be a big theme for the next 18 months. Using water to heal. Because Virgo, the South Node in Virgo is about health and nutrition. Pisces rules hospitals and doctors. Its connection to Neptune rules poisons and pharmaceuticals. There's going to be radical shifts in the healthcare system, both the major healthcare systems or the allopathic medical systems, but also there's supposed to be major shifts in alternative medicine as well. All major breakthroughs and shifts in alternative medicine, right? Can somebody Google that really quick and Google the Jupiter retrograde? Jupiter in Gemini. Oh, that's important to know. Thank you for that, Tajali. Jupiter retrograde in Gemini until February 4th. Okay. Okay, so water is a big theme all the way around for the next 18 months. Water is a big theme because of the fact that this lunar north node is in Pisces. Okay. What else? Okay, I think that, let's see. Yeah. That's all I want to say about that in that way. Now, the reason what came to me when thinking about all of this water energy and the preparation for this full moon coming up on Monday is this. So it's this. I know y'all haven't seen this in a long time. It's been a long time. Okay. But thinking about the astrology that I've been talking to you about, the water heavy energy in this astrology as we switch lunar nodes today, and as this full moon in Cancer is coming up on Monday. So Cancer, the planet that rules Cancer is the moon, but it is a water sign, and it is and in Ifa astrology, what governs Cancer is Yemaya, right? The ocean. Okay. So I was thinking about all the water sign stuff in the astrology, and I was like, oh shit, we're in a water season. So based on the 5 elements, I told you some time ago that based on the water elements, each element governs a season, and that knowing the elements season can teach you a lot about how to govern your life, how to eat to strengthen that element in its season, what not to eat in that season, behaviors and activities that are good for that season, so on and so forth. So right now, based on 5 elements theory, we are in the kidney season. The winter is the kidney season. We entered the kidney season on the winter solstice. On December 21st, we entered the kidney season. We will not transition out of the kidney season until the spring equinox, which will put us into the liver season. The spring equinox is when we enter the liver season. Okay, so right now we're in the winter, which is the water element season, or the kidney season. The reason that this is important, and I'm not going to draw on this board, though I really want to, is because this Cancer full moon coming up on Monday, this water sign moon, this Cancer full moon is in Capricorn. Shit. It's weird. I'm looking at it weird. Anyway, is an earth sign. Capricorn is an earth sign. So this is annoying. This full moon coming up on Monday is a water sign full moon, and we're in the water season, right? So it's Cancer full moon in Capricorn. So we're in the actual Capricorn sign right now, which is an earth sign. Okay. Now, I don't know if y'all remember, but a quick crash course. You have 2 sets of arrows. You have the arrows going around the perimeter, and then you have the arrows going within the circle. Okay. These arrows around the perimeter are called many things. They're called the generating cycle. They're called the mothering cycle. They're called the birthing cycle. This is the birthing cycle, okay, or the generating cycle, okay? And then on the inside, the arrows are the controlling cycle, So quick crash course. Fire, this is the fire sign. Fire generates or gives birth to earth. Earth generates metal. Metal generates water. Water generates fire. Fire generates, water generates wood. Wood generates fire. That's the generating cycle. On the inside, fire controls metal. Metal controls wood. Wood controls earth. Earth controls water. Water controls fire. Okay? So in this cycle right here that we're looking at, talking specifically about this full moon coming up and some implications that I thought were important for you to keep with you. Okay? We're in the kidney season right now, which started on December 21st. This full moon coming up, which is a water sign, is governed or is occurring in our actual house that is an earth sign, right? Which is Capricorn, okay? So here, and let's see. So this is the 2 main relationships. In this cycle, earth controls water. Earth controls water in this relationship. If the water element is weak, and I'll tell you some things that make the water element weak and why this is important for me to mention. If the water element is weak, the water element is a mother. The water element is a son, right? The water element is the son to the metal element. The water element is the mother to the wood element, right? The water element is necessary to control the fire element. 3 things that are important in this scenario. 4 things. 5 things that are important. Woo! 5 things that are important, okay? As it relates to now, this just came to me, okay? So the water element is necessary to control fire. Holy Woo, shit. Okay, right? If the water element is weak, right? If any element is weak, it can throw off the whole balance. Everybody has to be well taken care of and sustained in order for this to look harmonious, right? So the water element that we're in is weak for a number of reasons. I really want to leave this up. It's hurt my arm. Is weak right now for a number of reasons. So with the kidneys, okay, the kidneys in Chinese medicine are extremely important. As a matter of fact, is that going to be helpful? The kidneys, the water element, the reason that the color, you can't see it well, but I have it colored with blue and black marker. The color of the water element in Chinese medicine. Oh, this is annoying. The color of the water element is blue and black. The reason why is because the water represented by the kidney element is primordial water. It is the water, it's said to be the water that rests on the bottom of the ocean floor. It is the deep, 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 dark, unknown, unseen water that we all crawled out of as a single-celled organism in the evolutionary process. It's the ancient water. It's the primordial water, okay? And the reason they make the distinction is because your kidneys are your connection to your entire ancestry. Your kidneys are your connection to your entire ancestry. What that means in Western medicine is that, okay, so in Chinese medicine, it is said that you get half your kidney energy from your mom, half your kidney energy from your dad, and that makes you who you are. That kidney energy, or that quote kidney essence that you get from your mom, that kidney essence that you get from your dad, is your genetic inheritance, right? It's called your pre-heaven essence, that which you get from your parents. And this makes up who you are. So if you're thinking Western medicine, what that means is you get 23 chromosomes from your mama, 23 chromosomes from your daddy. That makes you who you are. That is given to you by your kidneys. Okay? And so that's what it means when it says that the water of the kidneys connects you to the entirety of your ancestry. Right? Now, the kidneys do many things. Let me just pull out a book. Oh. Okay. So, I don't need to know that. Okay, maybe y'all do need to know that. I guess I'm gonna give y'all a lesson. Damn. Okay. So each organ, so you have 12 primary channels. Each channel corresponds to an organ. Each organ has a time when it is its strongest. It's called the circadian clock. The circadian clock, right? And so I'm gonna show you just really quick. If you can, oh, there's a light. Okay, yeah, there you go. All right, so you've got the circadian clock. You can just Google this, right? And it tells you what the times for each organ is. And if you do things in that time that nourish the organ, it's when that organ is the strongest. So the time that corresponds with the kidney is 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. You so extra. Girl. Cut it out. Okay, so some things that you need to know about the kidneys. Okay, it is I said cut it out. It is represented by the north. Its season is winter. It's cold, black. It opens out of the ears. Okay, it governs the head hair. It governs the bones, the pupils of the eyes, urine. Its smell is putrid or rotten. Its taste is salty. The emotion that damages the kidneys is fear and shock. There's a reason I'm mentioning that. Fear and shock. Its sound is a groan. Its function is storage. And then it talks about some of the foods. Okay, so some of the foods that are helpful for the kidneys are like peas, millet, buckwheat. Its planet is Mercury. And that's all you need to know about that. Okay. Maybe I'll say something about that. Oh, that was good too. Shit. Maybe liver, pericardium, kidney. Okay. All right. So some more information about the kidneys. The kidneys are called the house of water and fire. The house of water and fire. The reason it's called the house of water and fire is because you have two kidneys. And in Chinese medicine diagnosis, your right pulse, there's a right pulse kidney and there's a left pulse kidney when you're taking the pulses, right? Your left pulse, your left kidney pulse is your yin kidney, and your right kidney pulse is your yang kidney. This tells you about any imbalances between the kidneys and that kind of thing, right? So your yang is your fire and your yin is your water. So that's why it's called the house of water and fire, or yin and yang. It stores essence. That's how it governs reproduction. It stores essence and dominates human reproduction and development. So I ain't gonna get that deep. There's something specific that I want to tell you. It produces marrow to fill the brain. So your brain is considered, it's called the seat of marrow. Your brain matter is called marrow. The seat of marrow is controlled by the kidneys. So your mind, what's within the brain, your consciousness, your subconscious, your conscious, your mind is governed by the heart, but the brain matter is governed by the kidneys. Okay. Let's see. It dominates water metabolism and the reception of chi. The reception of chi is the relationship here, between the kidneys and the lungs. See, you see how the kidneys is the lungs is the mother to the kidneys, or the metal is the mother to the water. This is about the relationship of the reception of chi. If the water element is weak, it cannot fully grab the oxygen from the lungs, causing shortness of breath, asthma, difficulty breathing. Okay, so it is responsible for the metabolism of water and the reception of chi. Okay. It dominates the bone. It manufactures blood, your kidneys. It opens into the ears. It dominates the anterior and posterior orifices. It houses willpower. That's another one I want to talk to you about. It is called the gate of vitality, or the Ming Men. I will show you that. The gate of vitality, or the Ming men. So there's a space between the kidneys, and that space between the kidneys opens to our belly button, connects to our belly button, right? This is always pictured as a little spiral in Chinese medicine. It's always pictured as a little spiral. This space in between the kidneys is called the gate of vitality, or the Ming Men fire. Okay? The gate of vitality, or the Ming Men fire. All right. It is the root of original chi. Let's see. Is it possible that when our organs are groaning, we think it's our stomach? Is it possible that when we think no, its sound is when you groan. Is when you groan, not when your organs are groaning. Like when you're like, like when people sigh, right? That's the liver. When you groan, and you don't think anything about it, it could be an expression of something going on with the kidneys. That's when they talk about the sound that the organs make, it's talking about the sound that we express from the organ. When we sigh, like kids in school, and we think they're just being rude, it's them naturally trying to move their liver chi. The sound that stuck liver chi makes is a sigh. Right? And then lastly, dreams. If the kidney, listen to this, if the kidneys are weak, one dreams of swimming after a shipwreck. If the dream takes place in winter, one dreams of plunging in water and being scared. If the kidneys are in excess, one dreams that the spine is detached from the body. If they are weak, one dreams of being immersed in water or drowning. Okay? Now, the reason, and let me make a little note because there's some things specifically, again, I'm trying to take y'all back to the astrology, but that I really wanted to point out about the kidneys, about the fact that we are in the kidney season, about the fact that we transitioned in the kidney season on the winter solstice. Let's see, the reception of chi, maybe marrow, brain, definitely stores the, yeah, definitely stores development, blah, blah, bone, blood, hair, definitely opens into the ear, dominates the interior, houses willpower, absolutely. Gate of vitality, yep, absolutely. Yeah, okay. So let me tell you, this is what I was thinking about last night. Okay, now, since the winter solstice, we have been hit with a barrage of events. Okay. It's just been one event after another, all negative, right? All negative. Negative shit on the TV, negative shit everywhere on the social media. It's one, and it's like major. It's not like, it's just, especially since January 1st. Barrage, 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 like our brains are being bombed just like the earth is. Barrage, boom, 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 boom. Okay? Of oh fuck. I gotta sit with this, y'all. Like I'm having a whole moment up in here. Yep. Okay. Barrage, 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 barrage. It's got us feeling desperate. People have been talking about, especially that first week after Trump won the election. People are like, we scared. We don't know what we gonna do. What is this gonna mean? This next 4 years, we got to get out the country. Right? January 1st, 15 kids get killed by this dude in New Orleans. day after day after day. After that first 6 days, it was something major. The bomb, the truck filled with explosives at the Trump Tower, the whole island of Puerto Rico in the dark, the white woman that done set the people club on fire in Puerto Rico, the 70,000 men that get exposed from, that was day 3, the 70,000 men getting exposed for doing this terrible thing to the women and children and their family. Boom, 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 boom. Now here we are in LA, fires, 6 total fires everywhere, whatever. Everybody's all day talking about the air quality, how terrible the air quality is, and what you can do to protect yourself from the air. This happened also, this energy that's been existing out here for the last few days has been really reminiscent of what was happening that first maybe 3 weeks after lockdown started right at the beginning of COVID, right? And this is an assault on the kidneys. The kidneys are negatively impacted by shock, sudden, unexpected, major fearful events that trigger fear as the primary response. The kidneys are injured by shock and fear. There was somebody, there was a post. I should have wrote it down. There was a post that somebody posted. I shared it on my Facebook page today that had me start thinking about this. And I've talked to you guys about this before, that on the Facebook post, it said something to the effect of, here it is, it's the winter season. And if we were living seasonally, this is the season where we would be relaxing. We would be, being indoors more. We would be sleeping longer days. We would be closer to our families because the work that we've done in the spring and the summer has afforded us the ability to relax in the winter because we've stacked the nuts like the squirrel. You feel me? We've done all the work. We've done the harvest. We've saved the food. We've stored the food. So this should be a period that we should be able to relax. And instead, we are busier than we ever are. And I've talked to y'all about this, how it's so crazy that the winter months are the months that we feel like we got to be the busiest. Why? Because we got all these holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas, and we got to buy the stuff and do the thing and go visit our people and it becomes the busiest part of the year for us. This, like, from the end of fall, from fall all the way through wintertime. And how, and she was saying, like, what are the long-term impacts of this imbalance or this disharmony where we're being forced to be more busy in the months that we should be able to relax, right? I was like, oh my God, yeah, I didn't even think about it. It's kidney season. And so the kidneys not only are taking a hit because they cannot relax, they cannot recover, they cannot restore in the winter season where it should be restoring to be its strongest, but it's also being assaulted in this season. So I started thinking about all the events that have happened since we transitioned into the kidney season, the winter solstice, right? And how it has been orchestrated to elicit fear. Fear. Not only fear, shock, right? That's all I've been experiencing since this fire started, is like people's shock, right? These injure the kidneys, severely injure the kidneys, okay? Why is this important? Because the kidneys, I told you some of the organs and some of the functions of the kidneys that are really important, all right? One I want to talk about is so each organ, I was telling you, I haven't gotten that deep into it, but I told you each organ is like its own self-contained unit working harmoniously together, right? And so each organ has its own spirit as well, its own soul, its own spirit. Each organ has its own spirit, and that spirit manifests itself in very distinct ways. So the spirit of the kidneys is called the Zhi, Z-H-I, the Zhi, okay? I want to talk to you about the jour. Because 5 elements, I love it so much. It explains everything. It explains everything. That's why I teach it to you. Because it explains everything. It and the yin and yang theory that I be teaching y'all, it explains everything. Everything. Come up with it. Tell me what it is. I'm telling you how yin and yang and 5 elements can explain it. Simplify it. Let's say the extraordinary vessels. No. Transporting points. No. Let's see. The spirits of the Zong. So the spirit, these are my notes from Student Clinic. Let's see. The spirit of the kidneys is called the jour, which means the will. W-I-L-L. The spirit of the kidneys, the jour, provides the urge to exist, the urge to do, the willpower. When it is in balance, meaning imbalance, when it's in balance, it makes one fearless and determined and the will to execute, persevering by willpower. Okay? That is the jour. Now, I didn't write it in this book. Let me see if I can find it somewhere else. But I know it. So in Chinese medicine, particularly in 5 elements theory, the kidney, the will expressed, there is a book that I have that's specifically about 5 elements. Is this one, Opening the Heart? I think it might be. I ain't gonna get that deep on y'all, but I will just say this. That the spirit of the kidneys, the jour, the will, so that little rendition talks about the willpower. But the way that we think about willpower or the will in this society is based on exploitation. First of all, by the way, it is, you have to push through shit you don't want to do. You have to push through, you have to have the willpower to get up and go to work at 5 o'clock in the morning or whatever. That's not the spirit. That's not the jour. The jour, the will described by the jour, is when it talks about the will to exist, the will to do. This is the will that gives you the enthusiasm to live. It's like the will is like, it's like your lust for life. Like if you have a goal, and you are excited about the goal, right? You're like, oh, I can't wait. I'm gonna be, let's just say you're gonna be a rock star. That's your life. That's your destiny. I'm gonna be a rock star. When you have a healthy jour, you don't feel like a burden to wake up. You get up in the morning, you like, oh shit, I'm gonna get myself cleaned up. I'm gonna feed myself, and then I'm gonna spend 2 hours practicing on my guitar because bitch, I'm gonna be a rock star. I'm gonna do this. The jour, the spirit of the kidneys, when it is healthy, gives you a lust for life. The will is the enthusiasm, the lust of living, the lust for life. It is, and then when it is healthy, gives you, in the wood element, its child, its son, the vision, because the liver or the wood element governs the eyes. Not only the external eyes, the liver governs the third eye. It gives you the imagination. So now you've got the will. The will is like, yes, bitch, we up in here. Let's go. Let's get it. The liver or the wood element gives you a clear vision so that you can create a strategy to make what you see in your mind's eye real. This is the wood element. This is the relationship between the two. Okay? So the jour gives you a lust for life. Have y'all been hearing people say a lot lately, it doesn't matter how much I sleep. always feel exhausted. I always feel tired. Doesn't matter how much I sleep. Doesn't matter what I do. Doesn't matter what kind of healing work. I just feel always exhausted. This is an expression of your jur, the spirit of the kidneys being exhausted, expressing exhaustion, a lack of enthusiasm for life. That's the expression. So the way I was taught is that when the jur is extremely weak, injured or damaged for some reason. Let me open this back up. When the jur is extremely weak, whether it's through injury, shock, fear, whatever, that's been untreated, then one of the big signs of a jur that is injured, severely injured, is suicidal ideations, a lack of a lust for life, no longer possessing the will to live. Suicidal ideations is a sign of an injured jur. Now, in traditional Chinese medicine, I told you what controls our psychological mind, right? The heart governs the mind, right? And in Chinese medicine, it is said that you can effectively treat, not cure, you can effectively treat a multiplicity of diagnosed psychological illnesses by treating the heart, because the heart, when it is injured, expresses itself as mental illness, diagnosable mental illness, bipolar disorder, manic depression, schizophrenia, psychopathy, sociopathy, narcissism. All of these are an expression of some kind of disharmony in the heart, right? So the heart governs the mind. When you have a jur, a water element that is weak, a water element that is deficient, a water element that is weak, it cannot control the burn of the fire. So when the fire burns too hot, it assaults the mind. It assaults the mind. This could be, in its earlier stages, just insomnia. When you have insomnia, we call that heart fire harassing the mind. Heart fire harassing the mind, right? Or heart failing to house the mind, right? Depending upon what the contributing factors are, right? But if the water is weak, typically the fire is going to burn too hot because the water cannot provide just enough water to control the burn, So it's a healthy burn. And what happens is the water is weak, then it's going to allow the fire to blaze out of control. This can look like a number of things. It can look like psychological disorders, which it will. It can look like cardiac events, which it will. It can look like insomnia, which it will. But it can also look like, because suicidal tendencies or suicidal ideations is what? It's a mental illness. It's some kind of mental disturbance or disharmony when a person doesn't want to live anymore, right? That suicidal ideation is because it starts in the water element. The water element being weak or assaulted is lost its lust for life, its will to exist. Suicidal ideations showing up as mental illness. You hear me? So recently I read that, especially among young people, young adults, that subsequent to COVID, there has been an increase. I think one of the studies I read is like a 31% increase in suicide among young people between the ages of 16 and 24. I knew it right away. That was an injured jur. The evidence, what's my evidence? What's my proof? What else does the kidneys do? The kidneys govern head hair. The kidneys govern head hair. It is said that if you go gray prematurely, it is a kidney deficiency, right? If you suffer from sudden loss of hair, big spots of hair just falling out, or every time you comb your hair, just wads of hair, something is happening there's some kind of kidney deficiency. Typically, that's going to be when it's falling out. There's going to be a disharmony specifically between the kidneys and the liver. There's specifically going to be a disharmony between the kidneys and the liver that results in the loss of hair, right? Because the kidneys govern head hair. Sudden forgetfulness, especially short-term memory, like I've been experiencing since I had COVID. I'm clear about what it is. Like what I've been experiencing since I had COVID, sudden loss of memory, especially short-term memory, is kidney deficiency. But why? Because the kidneys govern the seat of marrow, the brain tissue, the brain matter, right? What else? And then the reception of chi. That was the other thing I wanted to talk to you about. Okay, so here we got sudden. So since we transitioned into the kidney season on the 21st, right? Kidneys have been taking hit after hit after hit just from the media, okay? Just from events, crazy events that make you fearful about the country you live in and about your rent and what's going to happen with the economy now that these billionaires took over, and the information is bombarding you, okay? The other thing that's contributing to this is here. The liver or the wood element governs the eyes. So we're constantly seeing this all day, every day. We're scrolling through thousands of hours of TikToks and Instagram posts and all of this stuff about everything wrong with the world. Our eyes are taking a hit. This stress that we're causing to the wood element is increasing the fire of the heart and draining the water element of energy. The sun draining the mother of energy, right? We're in the Capricorn season, right? We're in the sign of Capricorn, which is the earth sign, and earth controls water, but the mother of the water element is the lungs. The reason I'm mentioning that is because what are two things over just this last week that are now negatively impacting this element? It is the fires in Los Angeles and the assault on the lungs caused by the smoke and ash. The fire and the smoke and ash, right? The kidney element was already weak, but now you've got a fire blazing out of control on a weak water element. And now you've got a mother that's being weakened by air pollution, by smoke and ash in the air, further weakening the kidney element. Isn't that deep? And so emotionally, you're going to start seeing, in my estimation, a lot of kind of like crazy, rabid behavior, mental disturbances. That's what you're going to start seeing. Is like insane, crazy, rabid mental issues because of this heart fire that's now going to be blazing out of control because the water element in its season when it's supposed to be relaxing and resting is being assaulted. Here is the wood element. Well, what is causing the fires is all the woods, all the trees, right, having no water, all the trees having no water because we ain't got no rain since May. All the trees having no water are just ripe for being burnt up. So it's the trees that are burning, fire blazing out of control. The fire's blazing out of control because the water element that should be controlling it and feeding water to the trees as the mother is already weak because y'all been taking a psycho-emotional hit since we transitioned into the kidney season. Now the lungs are being salted, so the lungs are going to get weak and can't mother, her son, which is the water element, and the earth. Somebody mentioned today, this is not even the worst of what's happening. We haven't even entered our rainy season yet. And so this fire, they has been 17,000 acres of land. What's going to start happening in about a month is mudslides. In this area, it's the mudslides that are going to start happening because all the trees are burnt up. And so now the earth is unstable because there are no trees, right? That are burnt up. And so now you're going to start having mudslides. And that happens. That's happened several times since I've been here. Is after you have your fire season that's over, right? Which this is late for a fire season. Usually fire season ends at around late September, early October. But you have a fire season. After the fire season ends, the snow and the rain comes. And because of wherever trees were on fire, the earth is unstable and it rains. And now there's mudslides. But here we are in January. Fire season should have ended. And so this fire happening because we have not had any rain since May, right? We've had 0.6 inches of rain since May. So now you're about to see the earth become unstable because all along the water element, which is, has a direct relationship with all of these, has been perpetually weakened. Now, I'm not talking about out in the world. I'm talking about within each of us, our water element taking these hits, how it's going to show up in these different ways. Mental illness in the heart area, mental illness and an increase in suicidal ideations, despair, grief, shock, fear, suicidal ideations. That's the way it'll show up in us. Here, it may show up as rage, outbursts of rage, a wood element, right? The way it may show up physically here and here is an increase in cardiovascular events, strokes, aneurysms, and heart attacks. That's the way it shows up when the water element is weak. That's the way it shows up here. And these two is cardiovascular events, an increase in stroke, heart attack, and aneurysms. I'm telling you, mark my words. Also, remember, you remember during COVID, what's her name? Jada Pinkett Smith developed alopecia and shaved and just finally just shaved off all her hair because she was losing her hair in big patches. I was treating 7 people in the first 3 months of COVID, 7 people who out of nowhere, chunks of their hair started falling out. This is the shock and fear response of the kidneys, is to lose head hair from shock and fear. I knew it. As soon as I saw her, I was like, her kidneys. People were losing their hair during COVID because of the gravity of lockdown, the shock and the fear. And out here, it looked like lockdown out here was different than it was anywhere else. It was crazy and it really looked apocalyptic. And so that shit was new for people. They didn't know what to expect. They didn't know what to do. That is the impact that shit had on the kidneys, and people were losing their hair, right? The lungs and the large intestine are responsible for your immune function, primary first line of defense for your immune system, right? And so the other thing that I was seeing a lot in this that first period of COVID was and the lungs are impacted by grief. And so those first few months of COVID where people weren't allowed to go be with their loved ones as they were dying and all of that shit, extreme, shocking grief, people were developing skin issues, how do I keep forgetting this word every time? Y'all know what it is. They call it the old people disease. It's a skin, it's right on the tip of my tongue. It's a skin condition that's caused from the chickenpox virus, not scabies, the chickenpox virus, where it's right on the tip of my tongue, and it typically only it attacks the nervous system, so it usually only shows up on like one half of your body. Shingles, Jesus. I don't know why it is always. I don't know why I can't ever recall shingles. I was treating several cases of shingles, and not in old people. I treated a kid who was 18 years old and developed shingles 4 weeks after lockdown began. And so that is an obvious an extreme lowered immune response to shock and fear, because of the relationship between the lungs, which is your first line of defense for your immune function, and its child, the water element, the kidneys, right? So seeing that, okay, and then there was something else. Yeah. So, and then the last thing I'm gonna say, and then I'm gonna end this. When it talked about the will or the jure, it says when the jure is in balance, right? You experience fearlessness, you're determined, you have willpower and a spirit of perseverance. So, what's the opposite? You experience fear, cowardice, right? You have no will to execute, no will to do. You have no motivation, no energy, right? So, I think what I was trying to at least elicit or communicate through putting you on about this kidney deep dive into the elements that's happening right now is what brought me back to it was one of the things that she was saying was this next 18 months, as we've shifted into this North Node in Pisces, is that water healing and using water to heal is going to be a big theme for the next 18 months. And I was like, yes, it makes sense. We're in the water season. It's about the kidneys. So taking care of the kidneys, doing things that benefit the kidneys, resting, right? Anyway, hopefully that was helpful. It was a moment for me, but hopefully it is helpful. So you're in the kidney season. Maybe I'll say a little bit more about that tomorrow. You're in the kidney season, right? Yeah, you're in the kidney season. So the water rituals. Yeah. So anyway, maybe I'll say more about that tomorrow. Now my brain is getting slow and my cats are getting restless. So I'm going to close out for the night. Hopefully I said something that was helpful and that is useful to you. I would say while we're in the kidney season, to pull back as much as you possibly can. I mean, it's hard for me. I know it's hard for us because it's such a part of our life, but try to limit your eye consumption of social media while we're in the kidney season. We don't shift out of the kidney season until March 20th. So try to limit your exposure to bad news, shocking news. Try to limit your overall exposure to social media and things that would like actively irritate you. You know what I'm saying? Information that would actively like stress you or irritate you or trigger like extreme emotions in you. Yeah. Also, kidney season is a great time to be doing ancestral work for obvious reasons. It is the organ that is responsible for connecting you to your ancestry. So kidney season is a great time to be doing ancestral work. Like if you have an ancestral altar and you haven't changed it up in a while, or like taken everything off and washed everything and put it back up. That might be what I do tomorrow, is to just, overhaul my ancestral altar. Then that might be something worth doing, to do some ancestral work during the kidney season. And doing water rituals, like the water ritual I've told y'all about, the dream ritual, because this thing talked about the importance of the kidneys as it expresses itself in your dreams. So remember, I told y'all some time ago about the dream ritual, where you take the glass of water and you speak into the water, and then take a sip of the water before going to bed. And then once you wake up, drink in the rest of the water and start to dream journal before you do anything else. That's a great water ritual to do during the kidney season. Maybe your ancestors can impart some divine wisdom on you in this season, that you're most open to communicate with your ancestors. You feel me? Yes. So it's late. I know I promised several of you that I was going to email you guys tonight. That is a promise that I am breaking. I will email you tomorrow after I do I'll email you tomorrow before the end of the day. I'm doing the Wicked review / breakdown at 9 a.m. You know what? I might change the time on that too, to maybe like 10 or 11, since it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. So I'm gonna change the time. Y'all keep an eye on the time for that. It's probably gonna be like 10 or 11. And then I'll send you the email out for the full moon ritual details, so that you can reproduce it where you are. So that'll be the conspiracy, for the ritual, and some things that you want to take into account, like to offer things that you can offer during the ritual, like offer to the water or offer to the moon, whatever. So those details I'll type out or finish typing out and send those out to you guys tomorrow. We'll do the Wicked review tomorrow morning. And thanks, Java Watson. And that's all I got to say about that. I'm gonna say good night, and I will see you guys tomorrow morning. All right, peace. Girl.